1 minute past 7 o'clock. It's about that time for the adults in the room. I hope you are good wherever you are. I'm in studio with your favorite people, Barbara, Eric, with myself, Emmanuel. Barbara, how you doing, girl?
I am great. I'm feeling okay and I'm glad to be here.
What's happening, brother?
I'm dope, man. It's so exciting. You know, it's Tuesday, eh?
Yeah.
And the 21st of January, actually. I was telling a friend of mine on my way here that before we can blink again, it will be December. Yeah. Time is flying when you're not in high school. Eh?
When you're not in high school without pocket money.
Without pocket money. Man, my folks used to be mean, but anyway.
But this is 94.4 Spice FM, your favorite station, man. We are the home of authentic conversation, which is what we're about to get into right now, all the way till 10 o'clock, man. A big shout out to you if you're in Amat. Or if you're just Team Earphones. You know Team Earphones, guys, Barbara?
There are many. And they offer, yes.
Shout out by there. Today, shout out Team Earphones.
Please, today we shout out to all Team Earphones.
Yes.
You're listening to us from a tattoo. You're listening to us when you're at home, when you're in class, when you're driving, when you're in the office, or you're doing your night shift. Asante sana.
Today, I want you guys to become Team Online. I just want you, wherever you are, to get some heavy bundles. Come on, bundles. Or if you have Wi-Fi, katu hapo. From now till 10 o'clock, because I'm telling you, today is going to be a good show. You have to stream it. Eric, today you have to stream the show.
Yes. No, totally. We have a fantastic surprise. Surprise. But speaking of surprises,
yes.
Before we throw it to Barbara, Uganda's opposition leader, Kizza Besigye, was given a spot in the latest edition of Guinness Book of Records.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, the Guinness Book of Records is described on the Wikipedia as a reference book that lists world records and national records, both of human achievements and the extremes of natural world. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Besigye has been listed for the most imprisoned person in the world. Okay?
Wow.
In 2016 alone, Besigye was arrested and jailed more than 15 times when he was contesting against the concluding 2016 elections against Yoweri Museveni. So he's under spot for being arrested.
So Bobby Wizine hasn't overtaken him?
No, Bobby Wizine hasn't.
But he's coming fast, huh?
That is.
But let me ask you, when you get the Guinness, are you paid or something?
I don't know.
It's just like just
I
rights.
think it's a recognition. Eh?
Just rights, bragging rights.
Yeah, it's a recognition for his. You remember, he used to be Yoweri's personal doctor.
Yes, I remember that.
And they fought in the beginning, Uko kwa mstuni. So.
But he's been unwell. I hope he's getting better.
He's just been arrested. Yesterday, he was arrested
again.
Yeah. They got arrested.
Okay, God
yesterday.
Forgive us. Why are we laughing? It's a serious thing. Someone has been arrested.
He got arrested yesterday. But he's been arrested more than my birthdays, I think. Actually, over 50, 60 times.
Wow.
He's been arrested quite a bit.
Your family can really be distressed by such things.
In fact, they arrest him and even barricade
his home. I've seen that. And then bullying him.
There's an interesting thread online which you guys should chungulia. I came across it a couple of minutes ago by someone called @oa. Who has a thread there about healthcare. Owa. It depends on your pronunciation. But it's double A. That's why you said Owa, because it's double A. So he talks about how healthcare is like a commodity. It's a very interesting thread. You should go check it out.
Owa is famed for his various exposés on this and that on social media.
Yes.
In fact, he has a long-standing. He writes a lot about history, governance, and even health. He's a good. You could call him a very investigative tweep.
Yes. And he has a fire thread about hospitals treating people like commodities. It's an interesting.
I've seen it trending. They've shared it in some mail group.
I'll check on it.
Yeah, how are you doing, Barbara?
I'm good. Talking about exposés and people being arrested, you just clicked something in my mind. The boy child president, actually your president, as they call him, the boy child president was arrested again. He has not reached that Guinness book, but he's been arrested severally. And people will be wondering, who am I talking about? The boy child president is a Mr. Nyekundi. And allegedly, based from the DCI tweet, he and other parties, two other parties, another person actually, were reported to have allegedly been involved in extortion, blackmail, and falsifying information about person. Now, the reason why when you talked about arrest, it clicked in my mind is this particular gentleman, he's a blogger. Some people can call him an influencer. And he's in Swahili, some people call him mtetezi wa wanaume au vijana. And he's been really standing or talking bad when women cross the line or women do things that affect the man. Well, there are some things he's done that are good, but others he's been seen, not even seen, and it's been there, it's public knowledge, corporate espionage. He's done exposés when it comes to scandals, many other things. He's thrown shade, been with insults, him and many others. But today, his arrest actually clicked on me, especially the allegations that were being put across. There are many influencers, there are many bloggers out here today. Well, I do understand that not all of us can get white-collar jobs, and I give kudos to and respect to anyone who's doing a lot of work online, digitally, and whatever trade you're doing online. However, I feel that there should be a limit or some moral value or some level of humanity, because certain influencers, some of them, have been known, and this conversation that is there, that they are quote-unquote guns for hire. They are used to discredit brands. They are used to expose people in the wrong limelight. They are used to, some of them are breaking homes and marriages. I ask myself, who died and made you a moral police? Who died and made you judge and jury? Because you're an influencer, because you're a blogger? When did we stop having that level of humanity? Or am I just being too much? Because I feel sometimes we have crossed the line between minding our own business and minding each other's P's and Q's. When it comes to some influencers, not all of them. Like, I like the way you at Awa, or Eric called him Owa. He's doing good. Whatever he's exposing, he's informing the nation. But I feel sometimes influencers and bloggers cross the line, especially when they are used to discredit brands.
But I feel like even like if you're using Owa as a yardstick, maybe there's some things he says which offend someone else.
Yes, that's true. On all of you'll always cut across. But I ask myself, who made us judge and jury? Because at this point in Kenya, influencers and bloggers are in a different level. We all know that. That, for example, if Emmanuel is known for a certain juice or gossip, if Emmanuel shows up or says something, it is believed. Sometimes the manner at which they source for this information is not credible, is not good. Some of it is done for blackmail. That's why I said, quote unquote, black gun for hire. Some of them bribe to get this information, or they are tipped. So does that make it right?
I don't know. It's
and I'm not a saint, so yeah, and I'm not going to be a saint tomorrow. But I'm just like, hey, I think we need to check ourselves before we start critiquing other people. We need to remember, first, karma is real, and second, you're not that perfect.
Alrighty, Eric, what do you have to say, brother?
Barbara, I actually don't pay any mind to any bloggers, to be very honest. Like, I don't even think I know much. I know one Jangoan who pisses people off, and I don't follow him.
You don't know the president of the boy child, the famous one.
No.
This one you don't know.
No, actually.
Or you've just decided not to know him.
No, not even that. Even like, you know me by now. I'm not very big on that. I feel like it's very idle banter and a waste of time. The things they do. So I try to go way above it. Because you can really get stuck in what somebody else says. Because as you said, most of what these people say is not credible, or it lacks substance. So somebody can write something about you without knowing you.
True.
You know, see, I've told you a lady told some lady who was interested in me that I am gay. Nothing against homosexuals, but I am not gay. So maybe she costed me love. Unajua? Yeah, so alisambaza uongo. So you see, I treat bloggers like that. So they go around, they're like guys in the market. So they say something wild. So in fact, vibing about those guys make them very...
But you see, there's no difference. It's called at hour.
Owa. Yes.
We call is he a blogger, an influencer? You see, they're all bloggers or people who do that.
Read
so
his work.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. There are those. That's I said. Some of them are not. So I cannot categorize because some of them are activists and they do good for humanity.
Do you guys still use Twitter as a source of news?
Which guys?
Like you and Barbara. Like there was a time I used to. Many times I don't get time to watch the news. So when I want to know what's happening, I just refresh.
What I do on Twitter is I go to the trending topics.
Yes.
So if I see the Honorable Gideon Moi, I click, and then from 5 tweets you can see that it's balderdash or that it's something credible. Then you leave it alone. And then you can click Oginga or Dinga. Then from 5 tweets, you'll see people are celebrating 26 years since his demise. And today, I think it's Martin Luther King Day. Was it today or yesterday? So you'll see Martin Luther King trending. So you click on it, and then you'll see quotes of his and clips of his.
What do you use to sieve, or you just use instinct? Like to sieve? Because Barbara, I think you're talking about how to sieve the news that we are receiving online, right?
Yes.
So for you, what do you use to sieve?
For me, to answer a question about you, I use it because I follow I follow KTN. our media house, Standard Group. I followed key in local and international. Actually, most of them, because when I wake up in the morning, I don't get time. And unlike Eric, I'm one person who really likes to know what is happening around me, because of maybe my background in journalism and all that. It's just something I didn't start now. I said a long time ago. So I follow all media houses, local, international, and also the dailies, because sometimes I don't have the hard copy. So I just get to know what is happening. And through that, that is another way I get news, amongst other things. And from there, I'll switch on the radio, the TV, and every night, even after we leave here, that's the first thing I do when I get home.
Yeah,
because in the TV in the house, I just want to know what happened in the news at 11, like the recaps.
The reason I brought that up was, Eric, the conversation about how Russia influenced the American elections through,
Yes.
an army of, tweets and, bots on Facebook.
Yes.
So sometimes because of, Twitter's democratic nature, there's a way you can create how people think.
Yes.
Like you can direct. You can direct how people think without a solid way to verify.
Yes.
So it's actually a very powerful tool, but it can actually be used, for good, and it can also be used
I think you
for
once mentioned that topic about that when you're talking about the things that we search and how it is used, that every other day or every other moment you'll now see. You remember you shared
Yes, I was talking to my wife about
Yes.
some lodge, and it came up on her feed.
Exactly.
So you see, now that's the question. The question is, how do we, as the consumers of the news, consume this news? Because is it, fake news?
Let me tell you, and that's why I was now saying, I think who you follow and who you ascribe to has a big deal about the junk or no junk you get or don't get. All right? So if I followed, say, somebody tweeting from Kisii called Nyasuguta, who gives us local news of MCAs in Kisii. I'm sure there are people like that who are super famous with 100,000 or 200,000 followers on Twitter. So then I'll get a lot of feeds from that sort of body. So the reason I intentionally ignore some people, e.g. the president you're talking about, is because that news doesn't serve me. It's a nuisance to me. So I just ignore it. So I don't follow it. Yeah. It's actually a bloody nuisance.
Because it's a choice.
No, I'm laughing because you should see your eyes and your reflection. I'm like...
Yeah, because I feel like I don't want to consume that. I feel
Which
like,
is allowed. You're allowed to consume
I feel
anything you feel like.
There's a lot of overload of information. So you have to be very careful the thing you allow to hear and see. I'm very purposeful about the things I allow access to me. So I will not read anything or watch anything. Or, there are these... One time before I left Instagram, I saw a lady that she has a gossip channel. I couldn't believe it. So, and she has
knew her?
No, I just saw on the Explore. So I clicked on a link. Then she has 50,000 people watching per video. And then she talks about people. So she says, Babrambaka at Spice FM, akona nywele inakaa hivi. So I was just like, good Lord, this is what she does. So I went to the earlier videos and she does that continuously.
That's her lifeline.
She talks about people. So I don't ascribe to that sort of thing. So what do? I either block it. There's a lady I see on TV who takes pictures every 2 seconds. And I know how we are acquaintances.
Yes.
So I don't want that. Like, I don't want a feed of every 2 seconds. So I just unfollow that.
The goodness, Barbara, is we have a choice
of what you
Absolutely.
take in.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we have that choice. It's still in our hands. Today's show is going to be fire. This is just the first 14 minutes, and we're going on and on and on. Like P. Diddy says, we can't stop. We won't stop. 94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room. I'm in studio with your favorite people in the world. And obviously, you are part of us. You are part of the adults in the room. And we're going to be together all the way till 10 o'clock. Remember, the hashtag is adults in the room. You can chime in on whatever you want to talk about during this show.
Classic soul, R&B. .24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
This is going out to the whole
I'm sure this takes you way back. TQ West Side from their album. This is actually the radio edits. It's not the raw one. Most definitely from their album. They Never Saw Me Coming. TQ West Side. TQ with his hit jam West Side. His name TQ actually stands for Terence Quaties, man, and his this song just became one of his biggest hits. Actually, the top 40 hit. In various countries, man. He did really well. I remember it came out during all the West Side, East Side stuff. You remember those days?
West Side?
Yeah, there was Tupac and there was the notorious B.I.G., man. I think this guy just took that wave and rode on it all the way to stardom, man. 20 minutes past 7 o'clock, we are the adults in the room and we are together, as I said earlier, till 10 o'clock, man. And time actually really flies. If it's your first time with us, just know that we are the home of authentic conversations. The conversations you're going to hear on this radio show, it's a radio show like no other. They are one of those authentic conversations, man. Honest to God conversations. I'm in studio with Eric and Barbara. My name is Emmanuel. And Eric, you had a story that you wanted to share today, brother.
Yes, totally. So, I'm all about, mental health. And peace and love and joy evermore, especially to the brethren, the male species. Kina Barbara's women have a way to figure things out.
Mayobra.
Yeah.
What is that? What is Mayobra?
Men are known to be quite drab. So I stumbled upon a very interesting article. It was dubbed "Fellow Men, if things become too tough at home, seek help." And that caught my attention. That headline was very interesting to me. So when I began reading the article, the writer began by seeking to find the answer to a question most people have asked, including a lot of women, Barbara. So he was asking, why do men throw away all they've worked hard for in their midlife? They move heaven and earth, sacrifice wealth and status, leave their wife of many years to go live with their young lovers. Okay, this conversation around Mpango wa Kando. So just before I could toss it to the side and regard it as one of those articles about Mpango wa Kando, something piqued my interest. So he went on to say, he was talking about masculinity, and he said that masculinity is not always toxic. You hear there's a lot of, banter around Twitter where guys talk about patriarchy and toxic masculinity and so on and so forth. So he was saying that there's nothing wrong with being a man and being manly. Okay? So he says that masculinity is a force for stability, security, discipline, and growth in the community. And when men are robbed of their manliness, so he was making his case, that a lot of these men who end up with these lovers, most of the time are robbed of their manliness. The community says upon a man being robbed his manliness, the community breaks down, children are not brought up well, values are trashed, and everything goes haywire. He says, while society frowns when men run away, it's better to run, in his opinion, it's better to run away as a married man than to commit one suicide or kill those around you. You've seen cases of men killing their children and even their wives. So he says when it gets to a point you cannot take it anymore and you've refused to seek help, it's better you run away, all right, than you commit another atrocious thing like killing somebody and so on and so forth. So he also said that he cannot rightfully condemn a man who runs away from an unhappy home where he feels unappreciated. This man who's run away feels unappreciated, disrespected, and his contribution and his sacrifice on behalf of his family is always despised. All right? And he makes a case again about members of the family have the obligation to be thoughtful towards the man, kind towards the man, generous, and to put the needs of others before their own. He argues that poverty, struggle, and want and hardship are easy to govern, but success isn't. So he's making a case that in most cases in marriages when a woman has gotten some money and the man is out of a job, the government is a bit vitu zinabadilika kwa serikali. So the worst in people, he says, shines through hard times, all right? So then he goes on further and further. But this caught my attention, and this is where I wanted to pick your brain, both Barbara and Emmanuel. He says that things go wrong when men grasp at the tendrils of youth upon the tendrils of youth drifting away, all right? Success, he argues, that if not properly managed, breeds loneliness with age. Even energetic men calm down once, with the age sets in. Sometimes because of domestic strife, home is not a refuge, a warm, happy, inviting place where the aging warrior, he's talking about the man, can gather his strength. Women should not only nurture their children, he's asking, but they should nurture their husbands, okay? Because their children and the woman should need the man not just for money, but just for him being a man. So, Emmanuel, to you and then Barbara as well. This guy is just trying to say that most homes become very hostile for husbands. And because of the hostility, and they feel that they're violated, they're despised, there's a lot of disrespect. A lot of men then therefore choose to go and drive into some SQ where they'll find some sort of solace from a lover who is lending a ear to be heard. Not the best formulas really, but they just feel like this person pays attention a bit more than where they
where they hail from.
So I don't say I abhor cheating and all its kind. But do you feel, Barbara, first, I know I keep interchanging, do you feel that in a lot, I know you're very passionate about, cheating men, and you condemn very strongly the, atrocities ties to cheating. But do you feel that in the place, you talk very passionately about marriages going belly up. Do you feel that in a case of a man cheating, that there ought to be sometimes, in some cases, the contribution from their wives, that maybe if we can change our perceptions and behaviors as wives, then maybe we can salvage a marriage, especially if men are coming forward and saying, I feel disregarded, I feel disrespected, and I feel despised. Do you feel that a woman who is regurgitating these these vices would send a man away to a lover?
Before I answer your question, I'll ask, if the shoe was on the other foot, would the men do the same, or what you're asking for?
If the shoe was on what foot?
If it was now the woman who had cheated, and what you're asking,
no,
and the reasons, I know, I'm just, right now, it's if the man is the one who's cheated. Of course, there's no excuse about that. I'll just say that.
And what I'm asking is this. Do you feel, I know cheating is wrong.
Yes, yeah.
Do you feel like there are habits that a lot of wives can perpetually do that would send a man to, a place like having a lover?
Yes. There are habits, and not only habits, there are also the environment that they're in can actually push not only a man but a woman into cheating or being in an illicit affair, be it emotional or physical. I also read the article actually, I agreed with him in some part. And the reason why I questioned the article for me was I do understand that men do not have a very good social system as women, as compared to women. Support system, sorry. And we have a better one than men. However, the last couple of, let me say a year, everyone is always talking about the man should be nurtured. And he also said it, the man should be nurtured and the children. Who nurtures the woman? Who nurtures the woman? You want men to be nurtured. You want your children to be. Who nurtures the woman? Who stands on the gap for this woman? She's supposed to go and look for her friends to do that. Her sisters, her mother. What are you doing as a man? That's a question no one ever wants to answer. So some of these women are in these situations because, one, there's a disconnect. And you're right to say, yes, the environment and the behavior has pushed women or men to behave badly and to cheat. That's the same way you're saying, and to move in with their young girls or to have affairs or whatever it is. However, when men get success, not all, some of them, it gets to their heads. There's an issue of substance abuse. All of a sudden, it's like you're having a midlife crisis. You forget you have the family.
Men and women?
Yes, that's what I said some. I didn't say everyone.
How about and women?
Women, he was right about it and he said it. That's why I didn't repeat it.
Oh, good.
That sometimes when women get money, the government changes. And he's true to say that. That's why I didn't repeat that. But on this particular case, that's why I said on this particular case of this particular article, I felt he forgot that particular part. Where when these men are in this midlife crisis, they've gotten this money, who is left to take care of the children? You have gone. You are bowling with the boys. You are doing rides. You're doing vacays. You are traveling. You have left this woman and you expect to come back and find your environment the same. No, it will not be the same. So yes, there is a problem. And unfortunately, based on that, some women, because of, they can be substance abuse, there can be issues of lack of commitment within the marriage. And sometimes this disconnect, because yes, you have the money, you have that, but it's not the money that we want. It's your presence that is required. So yes, you will have a disconnect in your home.
I feel, Eric, and we're gonna talk more about that when we come back. I feel like this story misses some details which would help us to make a logical conclusion. Because I feel, even from what Barbara said, most of the responsibility is on an individual. Like me, I am responsible for my actions, right? And then my wife is responsible for her actions. So if both of us don't do what we are supposed to do, there's something that's going to happen. I'm going to share more about that when we come back. 94.4 Spice FM will be back before you can say
Rumpelstiltskin.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Yeah! You're listening to Spice FM.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing?
Spice FM.
This is 94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room, and we're back like we never left, man. Before we went on the break, we were discussing a story that Eric brought up, man. I came across this story, Eric, from in one of the dailies, and it was titled, Fellow Men, If Things Become Too Tough at Home, Seek Help. A very intriguing, eye-catching article, and I hope the brothers got to read this article. I read it a couple of times, Eric, and my conclusion was for a man to reach a point where, he's... Because the article talked about how, if it's tough to live in a house with a nagging wife, sometimes you'd better just split. So when I was reading the article, I was thinking, and from my experience as a married guy, it's it's up to me to decide the output. You know what I'm saying? Like, I reap what I sow. So if I do certain things, I know my wife will react in a certain way.
Yes.
And then also, if my wife does something, some certain things, even me, I'll end up reacting in a certain way.
Yes.
So if we reach this point where this guy has decided, all right, he's getting this guy. The author mentioned the guy gets a nice pad in Langata with a nice,
youngling.
A particular waist.
Yes, and then you see there is peace. So
but for how long?
When yes, nguvu pia iko
shanga ya cost ile ya beads,
multicolor.
Beads, multicolor.
Yes.
So by the time you reach that point, either this guy, there are some things he did leading up to that that made the wife behave in a certain way.
Yes.
I think.
I believe so.
So maybe this guy, maybe this wife was not very. Maybe she talked to him badly. You remember the etiquette of things not to do before.
Women.
Maybe he did those things. She told him things like, "Well, you in 1 minute usko umemaliza kazi, otherwise utaniona." Something like that. Like there's always a step-by-step path that leads you to a certain way. Or this lady is just this lady that he was with is just someone who's just refused to change. He's tried a diplomatic route and she refused to change. He said, "Oh, hey, I don't like when you do X, Y, and Z." And such people. There's some people you tell them do this and they won't do it. So now he discovered that maybe he hooked up with this lady during the honeymoon phase, and then now when the honeymoon phase quished, he was like, "Ay, kume, this is the real person." But now from this article, we don't have those details. All right. So my conclusion was that certain actions will lead you to a certain destination. All right. If you're gonna be like, before you reach the point where this wife became nagging, did you hurt her? Did she find messages in your phone? What were the things that led?
Are you stepping up as a man?
That created that thing, that created that creature now who is in your house, who you're so sick of, and now you want to move out. And then in regard to the midlife crisis, like you go to the house and there's nobody. Honestly, you can't look for something to do. Like when I go home and find my wife and my kids are not there, I have to be confident enough in myself to look for something to do on that afternoon.
You're not a baby.
Yeah,
I think
you
in
know,
that regard, he was saying that we have to be very aware not to put so much time at work.
Yes.
So that we forget to put time at home.
Yes.
Because when we are busy at work, our wives are busy finding things to do. So they join chamas and they're raising kids alone. So by the time your knees are feeling some type of way and you need to lie down, maybe late in your 50s, everybody has moved on. Kids are in college and your wife is busy in the chama. So you've missed the chance. So he was just highlighting in that regard that you need a healthy balance. However, while I agree in good parts of what you said, I feel like one of the most vital things somebody ought to do, especially when you're confronted with some of these relationship challenges, it helps that while it's always very easy to point to the next person, you look introspectively
At yourself.
at yourself. And if you're very genuine with a pen and a paper, you will see that you also can be a huge factor in the qualm that you're having.
It takes two to tango.
Yes, but a lot of us, Barbara, are happy to just say, Barbara is an idiot.
Yes.
But you are not saying very quickly what you led to Barbara becoming the person.
You're not
she
honest.
is.
Yes.
You're not honest. So if you just sit down in the quietness of your heart and wrote down and you check deep into the contours of your heart and just ask, Eric, what did you do that led to this person behaving like this?
Yes.
You could write up to 20 things and then you'll be like, nyewe hapa
Yes.
nimekosa, hapa
Because you don't
nimekosa,
think a
hapa
man or a woman is mad.
yeah.
Yes.
So what I appreciated about the article, it was turning the mirror to the other side. You've had me championing, useless. I hate useless materialism, and I frown upon the ideas of just directionless marriages and relationships. And I feel, and I've shared here, Barbara, and you like laughing at me, that a lot of relationships in this city, women view men as a meal ticket or a
Yes.
nice, comfortable car to pick them when it's raining. So that a
Or they are survival kits.
Yes, so that a man is sort of a structure for a withdrawal. So you deposit problems to them, then they solve. And I think that's a toxic relationship.
Yes, and there are also people who have done that to their marriages, which is very
Yes,
wrong.
yes.
They've put so much pressure on the man that the man feels like, I have to provide, I have to make sure this woman goes to the salon. Well, it's all that is good, but have you ever asked yourself, can this man provide all this?
Absolutely.
He has school fees, he has
Absolutely.
rent. You want a new house, you want him to buy a shamba,
Yeah.
you want to step up and be like other women, you want him to drive a good car. At what extent are we doing that? Or are you
Absolutely.
pushing your man?
Absolutely.
But-
And I was saying, Emmanuel,
Yes.
that like I've said again before, every time you make a withdrawal, you have to check the deposits.
Yes.
But every time you're withdrawing, especially in places you did not deposit, then this guy feels, I've been a victim of that in many relationships. So whereby every time there's an offer or a new restaurant, that particular lady would call
Eric.
and say, hey, so there's this new place. So you are a sort of a person to be chomolewad. What is it called in Swa? Kutoanishwa.
Yes.
But so I think what was nice for me, especially was at the end of the article when he said that nurturing, I don't think he meant babying. It just meant that maybe, and again, I might be, giving him more than what he shared. But I feel like maybe he was just trying to communicate that in nurturing, you deposit even as you're withdrawing. Because I feel like from most of my male friends who are married, they are seen as just that.
Provider.
Enda uambie baba yako. Toa kwa baba yako. Si uambie baba yako mnaenda nini? Toa kwa baba yako. Baba yako, baba yako. And then in exchange for this huge provision, somebody lying like Kufamende, that style you talk about.
Yes.
I feel like some men get the short hand of this thing.
That's true. That I will not refuse. That also happens to a lot of men.
Also, do we have to discuss signs that like a relationship can never be saved? Like there's some signs where you figure where this relationship now enyewe it has died. Because that article ended with this guy. He said, all right, you can now then go to Langata.
Yeah, but Barbara and myself, and even you, Barbara, you remember one time when you were talking about how when a relationship becomes too abusive
Yes.
and it gets physical, you
Or
were saying
toxic.
that we should get to a place of accepting that it's died.
Yes.
It's a dead horse, so we needn't drag it along.
Yes.
So go to Langata so you don't set the house on fire.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
you don't hurt anyone.
These are some of the signs.
Because your kids need both of you at the end of the day, especially if you have a family.
These are the signs I came across. Discussion has become impossible. Like you can't discuss anything without it becoming a yelling match.
Yes.
And then both of you are quick to find a fault and to pounce on it, which is a sad place to be. And you walk on eggshells or dark contact. you know, in the house. And then another one is his or her familiar ways of acting now irritate you or worse.
When they sneeze, you feel like
dying. Like, why are you blinking?
Yeah. They upset
It is
you.
a natural thing that I normally do. You know, so I think when you reach certain levels, you know, I think...
Can I add something on that? For me, I think the part that you know it is ending, all that you said, yes, those can lead to, but I still think you can salvage. In some cases, you can. It is where that you do not care an inch, even if this person was dead or alive. That's when you know that there's no connection, that you wouldn't care. You see, the fact that you even care, he's blinking, upsets you. That the fact that you don't even care if he's there or not, if he's eaten, if he's in the house, you don't even, there's no respect. There's no love lost, whether he's alive or dead. Then I know that is the part you get to know. As a part, for me, you're like, this is done.
They always say that no marriage is irredeemable.
Yeah.
But having said that, you've cast quite a huge concern in my heart. I was speaking to a friend of mine about a week ago, and she was telling me that she knows the husband is not in the house, but she doesn't care.
Yes.
And she told me that now, for a year, she's been operating on autopilot. So she had to take up gymming so much to keep her busy. So that guy drinks a bit and comes back home at around 5. So immediately she hears him driving. She wakes up, changes into the trucks, and then goes to the gym.
So she's there never in the house together.
Now that
so
is
she
a
said
big...
she does. So I asked her,
those ones you've said you can reconcile.
So I asked her, where is he now? It said, somewhere, I don't know. So me, I know I'm living in the moment. Today I was coming to meet you. So that's what makes me happy.
And it's even worse that there's a time I have a friend of mine who was asking her, how is Eric? And she's like, I don't know. I've not seen. It's Friday. He'll come back on Monday or Sunday. And I was like, really? He hasn't died. I saw his WhatsApp status. He's alive.
That is
and I'm like, really? That's your husband, the father of your kids? And that is when you realize that that relationship is dead. So when you don't care, you don't even flinch, or you don't want to know where they are or concerned.
Thank God, Barbara, I'm not married.
But you know, we didn't answer the article didn't answer the question, because it said, fellow men, if things become too tough at home, seek help.
Yes, that I agree.
The only ending was Sasa Langata. Sasa Langata is the help now.
No, that is not help.
I like this article because, Barbara, this person was trying to provoke conversation. Yes. It's a good thing we're having this conversation. But it's saying, when worst comes to worst,
step aside. No, yes,
so
which I agree.
Yes.
Which I totally agree with Eric.
Instead of burning the house, because guys are doing crazy things here.
Even for
I
women.
saw yesterday on the highlights on KTN, a man was stabbed by the wife in Kisumu.
Exactly.
Because she suspected him of cheating.
Was that necessary?
So you see, this woman would have gone to Apo Kondele and hung out with some guy. I think that's better than.
But now, practically speaking, because I'm sure you're saying that in some sort of sarcastic way.
No.
Like, what's the practical way of getting help if things are tough in the house?
The practical way for me would be, I've never been married, but I hope that's why I keep saying, how you begin a relationship is very important. So if I meet a chick on Muindi Mbingu and then elope with her, that relationship is very tricky.
It's tainted.
Because if something were to happen, who will I talk to? A random Muindi on Muindi Mbingu. So the thing that would be better is to be very properly entrenched in the issues, rather in the families of these
Get to know each
people.
other.
Get to know their family. Know about who she is truly. And then get to know who she is and who she respects. Because further down the road, you'll need somebody who raised her, or even a guardian, to discuss some of these issues.
But now that's before. Now this guy is in this soup.
But that's why I'm saying it's success and failure both predictable and intentional. So if that guy is in hot soup, he chose that route.
No, that's not.
Can I give you? No, I agree with what Eric is saying.
There are some
Now
decisions. Let me give you an example.
That's
Emmanuel, you know what Emmanuel wants to argue? If you're going to the coast, see, we had Standard Group on Mombasa Road. If I take my car and drive towards Thika, and drive and fuel, sintafika Ethiopia. So you cannot start telling me ati wewe wacha nikuambie. The only thing I must do is turn back and go this other way tomorrow.
Yes, now so that's the question.
But see, that's what I'm saying. The genesis of a matter often decides the exodus.
No, I feel like there has to be a solution to someone who's up on Danny. Maybe see a therapist.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
For
See, we are saying yes. If the family fails and the therapist has failed, then now Langata can be your...
I think you didn't. No, you didn't get what he was saying. He gave a backstory, but his answer is you need to know the person because you need to talk to the
Eric
family.
Was describing
that is why he was giving a genesis of why he's saying that.
See, me, I'm saying just for somebody who's planning to get married this Saturday, but he met this chick at Jack and Jill hapa in Tao.
And you do not know so much about the
watu
person.
wengi walikufa. Or the man keeps saying, mi hata siongeagi na buda yangu. That is a dangerous
person.
Premise
I'm
to
sorry.
start a relationship. All right? Because we don't belong to ourselves.
You know you're not being sensitive about now the person who is in this problem.
Okay,
Yes.
fine.
Thank God for that.
Yes.
We agree. I agree
Can I
with
answer
totally.
you?
Very
Yes,
sensitive.
I agree with both of you and say you guys are correct in regard to I didn't see the signs, but now I am inside.
Yeah.
You can go for therapy. You can get someone to talk to. You can also decide to separate with your wife or your husband for some times as you talk about whatever is eating you up. Then after that period, whether be it a month or several weeks, then you'll decide, are we good together or not? Before you decide to run away with someone in Langata.
But also, Emmanuel, the problem always is, in the midst of a problem, it's very hard to solve the problem, especially kama uliingia ukijionea hivi. Unaenda thika boss.
Eric is more keen on preventative measures.
And also you could use your social people, your boys, your girls, your
Those
relatives.
boys are always drunk up in Langata. They can't help.
They can
No,
help
but
you.
marriage is a good thing. You guys should marry immediately.
No, Eric, just take
Like
your time.
this weekend, for instance.
I'll take my time.
94.4 Spice FM. We'll be back with more conversation.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. .1 Spice FM. Kisi.
Wilson, brother.
I love Charlie Wilson.
He has a new Valentine's Jam, which is dope.
I love it. Love that song. I was listening to it the whole morning today. Such a blessed brother. And he has quite a phenomenal story to boot, eh?
Yeah, he has one of those amazing stories. Charlie Wilson, There Goes My Baby. Singers who are just good, just from birth. Jojo, Get Out, bringing us to 53 minutes past 7 o'clock.
Absolutely. You know, Jojo is just 13, eh? Yeah, her name is Joanna Levesque. I think I pronounce it well or not. I don't know. I doubt she can pronounce Omondi Odur. And, you know, she was just 13 when she was already on top of the Billboard charts with his debut single.
Oh, she was only 13 years old.
Yeah, man. These guys do big things at a very young age. What are you doing when you're 13?
I was playing Kalongo.
Hey, you're still playing Kalongo 30?
With my
I was piecing high on a wall to compete
I was
with
playing
a friend of
bladder. I
mine.
used to even reach one finger. You know that
You didn't do
bladder?
that competition for piecing?
No.
For strength, to see whose piece goes highest. Take me, yangu imevuka ukuta. But I'd have won. I'd have been entered in the Guinness.
Do you
book
think you
for
can
that.
still do that right now?
I
not-
could. But the Barbara,
You don't remember that show when you're saying anasimama tu hapa?
Yes, in fact, that's the reason why I've asked that
Hata
question.
inapiga makona.
Mimi niko na strength, Barbara. Usinionage hivi.
Asijakata.
Najua-
Hata mimi, don't just look at me with
Mimi-
this hippiness.
Barbara.
I jump.
Barbara-
One finger.
Barbara
I did
anakojoa
bladder.
bwana. Barbara
To the
mali
no-
watu wanakojoa mimi wezi nishinda.
Hiyo umeshinda.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'll give
In
you
fact,
an award. record.
usikojoe hapa. is
Usikojoe hapa.
inspired by you. Cheki, unajua Erika anaweza kojoa hapa bomoe ukuta.
Goodness.
mad.
We are the adults in the room. We're going to be together all the way till 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining us on this journey. Eric or Barbara, is there any thing that is out of this world that you want to share?
Eric was sharing with me something that was amazing to him. I would like you to hear about
you
it.
know, it's
During the-
very interesting, Emmanuel, that you say that. I happened upon a very interesting fun fact, the rather surprising fact you didn't know about love bites or hickeys. I actually learned about
Ngoja
hickeys.
bana, ngoja nikuchezee hiyo nini. Hiyo thing.
I learned about hickeys when I was in a situationship with this white lady. Yeah, I had no idea because black people don't have hickeys. At
We
least the
do
ones I've
the
dated.
light skin ones.
Oh,
Yes.
so anyway,
Oh,
so
that's why you said we, huh?
Yeah.
no.
I'm not light skinned, but
No,
I
but
say.
you're
Oh, you're
fairly
light-skinned.
Yes.
yeah, like if somebody did something to your neck, it would be seen.
Walala.
Yeah, so this particular person used to cover her neck after we
After you have done wonders.
no after we've had dinner. and enjoyed the night together. And then later I found out why. So when I happened when
she didn't want you to play around.
No. When she was going to work, so it's off.
Okay,
So guys would be like, oh my goodness, you're very happy last night. Oh my God, I'm shy. So anyway.
You used to leave of course. Let me not preempt.
No.
Is that part of the story?
No.
Yes.
These are facts. Sio Barbara, yes. Barbara alikuwa hapo.
Kweka chumvi.
So the origin of love bites happened in the animal kingdom first. All right? Havelock Ellis, a psychologist, researched that male mammals frequently nibbled at female mammals' necks during mating. Right? It was then that the study was mentioned in the academic journal studies. People with iron deficiency get love bites quickly. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
If your skin turns black and blue immediately after some action, chances are you are low in iron. The other thing, they can cause stroke, those love bites.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Mtu akinyonya malimbaya unaweza admitiwa. So they can...
He's thinking he's a pro. And he's killing you.
They can also cause oral herpes, Kisiangani.
How now?
Oral herpes.
Yes. They can
The love bite.
Yes.
How,
Can call
Eric?
oral herpes.
Kwani unauma wapi?
Exactly. And what? Ama umekuwa mbakoko.
Then this was the most exciting of all. Dreaming of getting hickeys may symbolize that you are troubled by a toxic relationship.
Dreaming of getting hickeys. So there are people who dream about... They're not getting it, so they're dreaming about it.
Yeah. So it's a sign that you're in a troubled or you're troubled by a toxic relationship.
Even we Blakes have such dreams, like the ladies. Is it not on his...
Have you ever gotten a hickey, you?
No, I've never got.
But they do men... Yeah.
No, yeah. See, if someone does something properly to your neck, you can get a hickey.
Yeah, that I know.
Or to your back.
Yeah. The back ones are severe for men. Yeah. They look like they've been chiseled by some very sharp whatever.
But, okay.
But that is not a very romantic
a
thing. Your
hickey... Let's...
Like it's
romantic.
It could be like a badge of honor.
It is a badge of honor, quote unquote. But
Yes.
these are other interesting facts that people need
This
to know.
hickey is brought about from the mouth.
Yes.
So
It's
someone...
not brought about
No,
from the
is there another way that someone...
No.
I just want to
From
be...
the
Hiki ni mtu anakuuma.
It's a love bite. Sindio? Like,
Not even a kiss. A bite.
No, it's a love bite, Barbara.
What do you think? Did you when you're dating the Caucasian lady?
So,
did you
yeah, please ask him.
did you give her a couple of hickeys?
No, of course, not even that. Like, Barbara, let me tell you, I feel like the black guy's skin is very tough.
Yes.
Like, maybe somebody has performed some stuff.
Melanin.
Melanin, truly. Like, someone can perform something on a man's neck,
It's not
but
tough.
it will not show.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
that's
see,
different
what
from
I'm saying.
tough.
No, but their
Tough
skin...
ni ngumu, but
See,
At the end of the day, it's tough.
Even
For
how
real?
Yes.
if you read the biologies around the Caucasian skin and our skin, it's very different.
Okay, let's give an
Very,
example.
very
If you've bleached your skin and you have normal skin,
Yes,
it will be different. The
Yes,
texture,
like we have more melanin.
the elasticity will be different.
We have more melanin. So you know about the causes of albinism? It's
Yes.
lack of melanin in the skin.
Yes.
So being an African person, especially very dark African person, you have more melanin. So that way, your skin is tougher.
all right.
Emmanuel, you've never performed a hickey?
No.
You've never given anyone a hickey?
No, I'm not.
I'm sure maybe somebody has, but it's not visible. That's my...
No, but I'm not one of those biters. You're a biter.
Yes. Remember, he said someone
so
was
you have to
wearing...
bite someone. Are you a biter? It depends.
I know. He said someone was tying their neck.
No,
Yes,
but you
dodging
guys are making it sound very weird.
No, it's not weird.
It's not
just,
weird.
Are you a biter or
You've
not?
never kissed your wife's neck.
I've
Then
kissed,
that's-
but
While
if you only-
during the action, you've never excessively breathed and beat parts
So
of an-
breathing nimebreathe.
Kuuma kidogo.
Kuuma ndio sijauma hivyo.
Umeumaje?
Sio nibbling. See, that's nibbling. When you
Nibbling.
nibble a Caucasian person, they get love bites.
94.4 Spice FM. Amazing stories right here on this show. We'll be back for more conversation right here.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Spice FM, Malindi.
The people I love, nawapenda sana watu wangu wa Malindi manake sijui mbona nawapenda.
We need to do a show in
nawapenda.
Malindi because Emmanuel loves Malindi
In
like
fact,
I don't know
do you
what.
think bwana Japani anasikia hii show?
Aya. anza kupiga demo.
No, nasema tu kama nasikia, unajua your activation huko Malindi. You know the funds there are demanding.
You're demanding.
They.
No, not you.
They want adults in the room. Producer. Na wakuja na producer.
Me, anything that's in the coast. I don't mind.
Emmanuel, back to the conversation.
You want to tell us about how you are biting women?
No. Emmanuel,
let's start by this.
Now,
will you be honest?
Are you
be honest?
Utakuja
Will you be
Malindi
honest and tell us if you're a biter?
No, Barbara, I'm not a biter.
You're a hard kisser.
Emmanuel was saying that
You're a hard
you know,
kisser.
Emmanuel was making it sound like I'm a Dracula. It's not a Dracula, or I'm trying to like.
Okay, you over nibble.
Not over nibbling, Jamani.
Okay.
These Africans.
But
someone has ever nibbled your neck, Barbara?
They have.
Did you get a hickey?
Twice in my life.
You see now?
And I was very upset with this person. Because you cannot make me walk around looking like that.
Did you put on a show?
No, I didn't. I just pretended that I didn't know.
Seriously?
I'm not going to overdress and cover myself.
You just said it's lipstick that went to the wrong
No,
side.
I couldn't say it was lipstick. We were actually at the coast. So you see, everyone could know.
Coast and no, may come up to.
Yeah. So you see, but I don't like that. To be personally, I don't love it.
What do you mean you don't like it?
I don't like it.
Unapenda sweat. So ulisema unapenda sweat hapa?
No, you're changing that. I don't like the idea that even if you're going to have
but you can't control how I'm
as
going
in,
to
I
be
don't want the whole
expressing
world to know my
maybe
sexual
I've been
escapades.
overtaken by emotions.
Me, I like trips to Costa.
Okay, anyway, back to the topic at hand.
94.4 Spice FM, 2 minutes past 8 o'clock. We are the adults in the room. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be together all the way till 10 o'clock. And big shout out to you wherever you are. Team Earphones, Team Streaming. I've told you today.
www.spicefm.co.ke. You could also stream or watch from YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
We are on all those media platforms.
Yes, we are on all those media platforms today.
Yes. Facebook.
As at this
Twitter,
moment.
And
2
all
minutes
the other
ago.
ones. Yes, including the website www.spicefm.co.ke.
Yes.
You can actually tune in there because today is actually a big one. It's about that time for our hot topic. Barbara, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about something that is exciting to all of us, something that some of us are going through and would like to share with you in detail. And would like to know your opinion. So as Emmanuel has said, we'd like you to plug in on today's conversation through all our social media handles. That is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. If you can stream, we would appreciate it. Now, we're talking about dating tips and single parents and how to manage blended family. Dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended families.
And we have a special guest coming through at about 8:30, so you'd better just hang around for that. I remember at 8:30 we have a special guest coming through. In fact, I'm just going to share Dr. Chris Hart is going to be joining us for this conversation. Eric, you want to break it down, my brother?
Let's do it. So very good evening to you and thank you so very much for choosing the home of Simon Pure Conversation. We are here daily. Believe it or not, daily, Monday to Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. And what we seek to do is to have authentic, real conversations about issues around money, sex, and relationship. And this is such a lovely day. We are looking to find out about dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended families. As Barbara said, we are streaming live on Twitter, Facebook, and you can check us out as well on www.spicefm.co.ke. We are the only radio to come alive in a visual format. So audio-visual, the only 94.4 Spice
Yes.
FM. Now, dating, Barbara, is a minefield. Whatever your situation, when you're a parent, things can feel even tougher. It can take a long time to get over the stigma of being a single parent, especially when it comes to dating. It takes a lot of acceptance to realize that your family is something to celebrate rather than something to hide, and that the right person will recognize these also, okay? So what are some of the dating tips you would ask for a single parent, and how can couples manage blended families? You know, Barbara, as I've shared here, and Emmanuel as well, my mother got pregnant with me at the tender age of 19.
Yes.
She tells a story how she first time tried to have sex and boom, she got pregnant by Eric. So, and it was very difficult for her, of course. So she had to leave me with her mother. So I was raised in the earlier years with my grandmother hapa at Langata Barracks. Unaona hapa Langata Barracks? Ukienda hivyo niko naenda Ronga hapo ndani. So I was raised there for maybe 3 to 5 years as my mother was going back to school and finishing school. And I think one of the challenges she had, she did not confide in me, but I could see that every time in her dating life, when she would bring up the idea that she had a child, a lot of these men would frown, especially a boy child.
Yes.
I don't know why men are afraid of boys. Girls, they sort of can take.
They can,
but
yeah.
when it comes to a boy, unaona wanaanza kuwa very jittery.
Yes.
So I think as a tip for me, because I've never been a single parent yet, but as a tip for me, borrowing from wisdom from my mother, I think it's very important to be open about the fact that you are a parent. I think a lot of women, especially younger women, shy away from the reality that they are parents. So that what happens is when they go on dates, they hide on the peripheries of still, just searching for love.
They're not
open.
open.
Don't quite make mention of the fact, because it's a fact that they are mothers, all right?
Yes.
So I feel like the importance of being open about you being a parent is that it honesty, when you're honest, honesty cuts out the potential of misunderstanding or even meeting narrow-minded jokers, and saves you a lot of time. For instance, if I meet an Emmanuel who is, like I keep telling you, because of many becauses, I am happy just starting a family with a woman.
Afresh.
Yeah, because of many becauses.
Which
and it's just a preference.
And it's acceptable.
Yes. Nothing against single mothers, because my mom was single. But I feel like it would be easier for me because of many reasons we'll discuss with Chris Hart even later. It would be easier for me to just start a family afresh. But I feel like if I met a woman, all right, say I was attracted to you, Barbara, and I met you for coffee, and the first thing you told me while we were having coffee was, by the way, I'm raising a beautiful daughter. Her name is Howie. She's 5. So I know immediately, huyu atakuwa rafiki yangu mpendwa, but sio bibi mpendwa.
Yes.
Because this is not what I'm looking for. Likewise, maybe you're looking for a man who has a child. My friend Nyeri, not her real name, used to tell me the way she has one set of twins and one son. So she has 3 children. And she was never married. She was in a sort of a thing. So she keeps telling me that she cannot wait to meet a man who has 3 or 4 children so that they just get married and do life. Travel and enjoy life.
Yes.
And, power to her. That's what she
And
wants.
I can get her.
Yes, she will. I keep telling her, you're going to get that man.
Because I'm also in that kind of stage.
Yes, because there's
a
man looking for a woman who already has children so that they don't go back to raising babies.
Or getting
and whatnot.
babies, yeah.
So I feel like number one for me as a tip, all right, for dating is that upon you setting out to date, announce very good and early that, you know what, I have a son or a daughter. Yeah. It's very important.
So as early as how long? Like?
As early as the first date. Yeah, as early as the first date.
But one of the tips that I'd share is talking on the phone first. I tell you why. No, listen.
With life.
Listen. Let me tell you why I've said that. You see, you go and meet this guy, and you realize 5 minutes into the conversation is it's a waste of time even going to meet. So if you talk on the phone and unleash this information that you're talking about on phone, it'll save you time. All right. I feel like
maybe as Eric has said, I want to go have a meal.
Meeting on day 1 and then now sharing some of this very deep.
But on the phone, aren't you sharing the same thing?
But at least you're not there physically.
So if you're
not committed,
are you talking from an angle, from a man's point of view? You want to know those things on phone?
Honestly, I don't even know why I brought that up, because I feel like that's even too soon. Like first date and you're already sharing intimate details.
Because you are a mother to this child who depends on you.
Yes.
Like you guys are 2 fabulous family members.
We come as a package.
You've not even seen where the relationship would go.
Emmanuel.
How do you? That's too much information.
Emmanuel.
Day 1, honestly. Day 1,
allow me to
tell me. You want them to hide.
You want me to tell you when? No, just a moment. You want me to tell you when I have
when
a
I'm
child?
worthy of being told.
Oh, so now there's a credibility level.
You don't want to waste they don't want to waste her time.
Exactly.
No, honestly, Barbara, there has to be a time where this guy are you even interested in him?
And that is actually, for me, I'll be very honest, for me, if I was to date someone, that is where I know whether I'm cutting you off or not. Because I like what Eric has said. He has nothing against any woman who is single, has a child or has children. Yes. However, it is not his cup of tea. He is not in that phase in his life. He would like to start life afresh with someone. Yeah. There are many people like that. Yes. So I'd rather not lie to Eric. I come and we go date 1, date 2. We are laughing, we are smiling.
When are you planning
then,
to tell me?
1 month down the line, Eric is falling in love with me, and he finds out he has a child. He feels betrayed.
How many times have we
conning? That would be conning.
That is conning someone into something.
You want someone to con you?
It's not conning. It's you have to.
Emmanuel, are you talking from a man's point?
You
What
do
do you mean
you,
worthy?
okay, on your
This
first
woman,
date. No, let me ask you.
But then, Barbara,
When you
Emmanuel
meet
is
a
talking
date
from
on
his
day one.
I think you're talking from your own
You're talking
perspective.
from your perspective.
Yes.
Put your
I'm
shoe-
talking on the perspective
No.
of me going a date with this single
Yes,
woman.
that's
You
I
don't want
her
to know.
throw me
No,
the
that's
info
what
on
I'm
day
telling
one.
you. Put your
Because
put
what? You'll
your
have a
foot-
heart attack.
Emmanuel, put your foot on the woman's shoe. She is trying to save time, all right, and to cut all the BS.
Yes.
So if she tells you and you're feeling some type of way,
Go
it's
go
better
away.
for her that you leave after that date, so that she doesn't keep meeting you, and then you start acting strange after date eight.
Exactly. You see, you're even laughing at yourself.
No, I'm just laughing at how interesting. How many times have we had conversations about, some ladies who like the only convoy is, let's do my toy. So
That is me.
No,
I
let me
will
tell
change
you.
it.
Conversation.
We've
I'm
even
that woman. I
one
won't lie.
time-
I'm that woman.
maybe now it throws off many guys.
No.
Then go away. Then you're not meant to be in my
That's the
life.
wrong attitude.
No,
What's
it's
wrong
not.
attitude?
You are the one with the problem.
come
as a
with
man.
that package.
She is a mother. Sasa
Deal
unataka
with
afanye
it.
nini?
It's not that I hate your child.
And I get that.
I don't hate
But
your child.
even men,
I am dating you.
not only ladies, even men out there, I
guys
urge,
are really showing
be
us that.
honest and tell the person,
Yes.
I have children. You might be very shocked. There are people who do not want to be stepmothers.
Yes.
Or there are people who don't want to date anyone.
Yes, yes.
I'm not saying sometimes even when you're dating that person, it might not lead to something. So Eric would rather tell me, you know what? Even if this goes further, we really cannot have a long-term relationship because I'm not into this.
I love
There you will
Barbara.
make an informed decision.
I love for Barbara, you see, upon Barbara being honest and telling me I'm raising a daughter, we will not even go further into me explaining my preferences.
It doesn't matter.
I'll just be like, hey, it's really, how is it raising a daughter? We'll have a conversation and then I'll just take a detour. We can meet with Barbara again for coffee as friends.
Yes.
But I'm not going to pursue
He can
a
decide to friend
relationship.
zone me.
But you see, 18 weeks of her keeping quiet with that information, and I've kissed her neck and I've given
gave
her
me
hickeys.
hickeys.
All right. Then she says, by the way, I'm a mother. Checking me. You are a mother. Me, I was not looking for a mother. You see now?
Yes.
Then now I'll put her in
And that's why men feel they're obliged to.
So it's best she tells me on day one. instead
have
of telling
3
me
kids.
Okay, can I
day
suggest
15.
something?
Suggest, my darling.
How about if you don't wait till that moment? You say, all right, I'm going to go on, say 3 dates.
Why? Why?
No,
why?
see,
what's-
let me-
no, I'm
let's
asking you a
suggest, why
question.
can't I
No. Let me
suggest?
just ask you a question so you answer them together. Why do you feel she needs to take time? For whose sake?
Because
For whose sake is she taking time?
for the relationship's sake.
You just
I tell you
want
why.
to chow.
There's no
You want to waste
relationship
time and
without
chow for
honesty.
free.
Li-
I've
listen
seen
So
to
you
what
want
I'm saying.
you just to
You want
enjoy.
me to say my
Okay, say.
suggestion?
Sorry, darling.
So I suggest the reason we are pacing this information is maybe I'll fall in love with you. And the 3 dates that I have will be strong enough for me to accept, you and whatever, situation you're in. And also you, me. All right. Because you've gotten to know each other. I'll be like, all right, yes, I've gotten to know you. And because I've gotten to know you, me, I'm willing to accept anything. And even me, I have this info about myself. All right.
Emmanuel.
I feel like giving yourself maybe a couple of dates. Me, I'd give it like 3 dates. And that's
Emmanuel.
me. We can agree to disagree.
Emmanuel, I've called you how many times?
I suggest that you give it around 3 dates.
So
Because
let me
first
ask
of
you a
all,
question, Emmanuel.
you don't
I'll
even know.
forget my question. When you are on a date with Barbara and you're waiting for date 3, now you're on the second date. Then your baby mama calls you about a situation in the hospital clinic.
On date?
On date
On-
2.
on date 2.
On date 2.
You'll run away.
Will you go step aside and say?
I think
No,
he
I'll
will.
just pick it there.
And
then
Pick
you'll
it there.
say?
But
What
the
will you
info
say?
will be from the situation. I mean, not me bouncing it on you on day one. Check, hey, how you doing?
How
Have a
will,
kid.
how will that
I am
how will that play
yes.
out on her?
Yes.
When you're just
Day
randomly
2,
taking
actually.
the
No,
call.
actually,
No,
day
I'll
2.
just say, no, I
Emmanuel,
don't feel like it was the right time.
Emmanuel,
to
day
reveal
2,
it.
your phone
That's
rings.
what I
No, Emmanuel.
Hey.
Day 2, you're called and you're told, unfortunately, your child is in hospital. Will you tell this date or you'll also still wait for date 3 to tell her?
No, see, I've said if it happens before date 3, I'll just share it before
Barbara,
date 3.
wouldn't you feel
But I won't
conned
come
like
on
with
day
such a
one.
guy?
Exactly.
I
I
won't
would-
come on day one and unleash
You
that
look like
information.
such a con man, by the way. Eh?
Emmanuel,
With
I
you-
think
What are the
no.
other tips?
I'll get,
You look like a
What are
terrible
the other
con man.
dating
he's
tips?
I'm going to give you another dating tip, but I'll say this, Emmanuel. I don't think you need to hold out for long. You need to be honest with yourself. We have said this. People don't change their characters. People tell you who they are in the first beginning. So if Eric right now decides to tell me, Barbara, I am not into someone who has kids, that even if he fell in love with me, even if he liked what chowing style we had, it does not change the fact that initially Eric had a stand, a principle. So even if he falls in love with me, 10 dates later, it does not matter. Eric does not want to have someone. So stop forcing people or stop forcing situations into people. Don't con people into relationships.
Stop
because that is why we are having...
You can't give that info. You can give that info, but don't
because
give
that's why we are having
TMI,
issues. People fell in love with women, then later on found out they are kids. So as a by the way, you're like, you know what?
Should you
I
also
like
share...
It's a by the way.
Then they start saying things like, you have a baggage.
Exactly.
No.
That is when you start calling someone's child a baggage.
So what are the
I
deep-
call a baggage.
What other deep things should you share about yourself on day one of the date?
Everything.
But what do you mean a child is a deep thing? A child is not going away. You think
Exactly.
a child is like a
See,
fat.
the other thing...
A child is not a pimple that will
child is
go
not a
away.
fat that
Yeah,
will
that
fat
is
it
why
out
I'm
in
wondering
the
why
air.
you just share it with
No,
someone you don't know on
this
day
is
one.
part and parcel
It's
of your
intimate
life.
to
Why
me.
wouldn't I
Why do
share?
I
I have
need
a
to
child.
It is so intimate. I want to share it immediately.
Emmanuel, what you also say in public, I am married. Why shouldn't we ask you, don't be telling people you're married?
Barbara, your example
Exactly. Now let me give another let me give another point as you think about that. I think that the first thing
a jacket.
Barbara.
I think another thing that you need to take into consideration is engage in something what is called what if. Whether you're a man or a woman, ask yourself, are you ready for this? Check yourself. Are you ready to date someone because you're a mother or you're a father? Or are you ready? What if your children found out? Are you ready for those questions? What if your child asked you, who is this man? Who is this woman? Are you ready and able to answer those questions? Ask yourself that what if question. Are you ready for the next phase of your life? Because to be very honest, Eric said very well when we started, dating, it is two people. But when you are a single parent, unfortunately, it becomes a crowd. Yes. You can never escape this. Your child or your children have to be part of this relationship. Don't look at me like that I'm saying strange things. I've seen that look. Yes, ask your question.
No, like it's
that
truth. Important.
It is that important.
You ask yourself, what if my child asks me who's that?
Exactly. What if the time comes that I need to expose this other man or this woman to me? What will happen? Are my kids ready for that? Am I ready to have that conversation? Just don't go jumping into dates. Because sometimes we forget, men and women, that you have a responsibility to this child. That if I decide to bring Eric into our unit system or Eric brings Agnes to our unit system, we are disfiguring. And most people always say, no, we are getting married. We'll have a blended family. What you forget is you and that person are a couple. But what determines if you'll become a family are those children. Will they accept you or not?
Do the children determine, really, honestly?
Yes.
Like sometimes you can
to
just...
me.
Sometimes
you're going to force a marriage.
No, sometimes it depends also on the age of the children. You can say, I'm ready to remarry. Whether you guys like this guy or not, now this is my life. See,
wrong.
See, that's also a question.
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
You can't decide that I'm old enough to... Because it's your life.
Your children
raised,
in
okay,
your
let's use Howie as an example.
Sure.
Howie is hypothetically,
yes.
she's even 18 years old now.
Yes.
You've met this nice guy.
Yes.
So you want to tell me Howie will decide if you will date this guy or not?
I will put her into consideration. At 18, no, because she's an adult, she'll do all that. But I would like to involve my children or my child into that conversation. Of course, age matters. When they are young, you need to take that into consideration. You'll ask yourself, is Eric ready to move in with his kids?
Sometimes even when they're young, you can make that decision for your own heart, right?
What? Not for me. I don't think so.
Or for you, it wouldn't...
I think I feel, whether you're a man or a woman, when I decide to date, for example, Eric, and I have decided that I want a life with Eric, and Eric has accepted the fact that I am a single parent, I need to bring Eric, or Eric has other children, we both need to decide how we're going to handle our children. Yes, we're in love. Yes, we're a couple. But because of our lives will be intertwined and mixed up or combined, whatever it is, our kids will be part of this. How will they... Going forward, what will happen? That is why I said the what if questions. Ask yourself, are you ready for that? Are they ready for that? Sometimes we get into relationships and are very quick to turn around and get people into our children's life, not forgetting that it was just maybe 1 year ago that you and the father separated, or you and the mother. So now you're bringing another face to the house or to their eyes. How are you going to explain that? They're teenagers. What are you portraying? Talk to your kids first before you start making such moves.
You know what? Me, I'd ask myself alongside the what if is I'd think of how to explain this new person in my life to these kids.
Yes.
So I'd say, all right, you guys don't like John, but I'd go and sit down with my kids, depending on their age, and just tell them, listen, I've met a lady called Barbara. We work with her at Spice FM, and now I want to work, on
you
her
see,
at
even
home.
my my God, Emmanuel,
I'm
you need a
kidding.
lesson on sex education. You can't handle kids like that.
So I just explained to them I've met someone new and I want to bring her into my life, and they'll be seeing more of her.
Yes.
Because obviously, if I'd vet,
Because you can't
I'd
only
vet
just
you.
be jumping around in hotels.
Eric, I'd vet the lady to the point that I know that I'm ready now to present her to
And
these
don't bring her on the second date to the house.
All right, so
Yeah,
so
don't
I think you guys are making quite some sense. I was thinking about the processes of introducing somebody new to your children. I think one of the tips for me would be, if I ever were a single parent, God forbid, I pray not. My plan is not to be.
Tumesikia.
So I feel like it's very important, and Barbara, I know you can bear witness to this.
Yes.
Don't rush introducing your new partner to your child. It helps to make it clear to the person you're dating that you aren't looking for any help with parenting. I think a lot of single men, such as myself,
Yes.
think that dating a woman who has a child, a single parent, is them recruiting you to try raise Howie.
Yes.
And it's never the case. I think it's
That's my
important,
child.
It's important that Barbara would clarify that this is your territory early enough, all right? Getting them involved too quickly can cause potential disruption to your child. Things like sleeping over is very disruptive.
Yes.
So your child, like Barbara tells us, that in the morning how he runs on Saturdays to your room.
I actually every day for prayers in the morning.
Imagine how he running and
Finding someone in my
mtu
bed.
wako na kifua iko na nywele mingi na mtu hajaimwona. So
Atadhani yuko kwa zoo.
unajua inaweza mshtua sana.
Itamshtua sana.
Yeah, so I think Emmanuel, coupled with introducing the way you're saying you go home and introduce your kids about Barbara, you need to take good enough time.
Yes.
All right, take enough time and qualify that indeed Barbara is somebody you want to go the long haul with. Instead of introducing Agnes, Barbara, Jennifer, Alice.
Yes.
So it's going to, it's going to leave a bad
So
taste.
you have to take some good time, I think.
Yes.
Yes, before that.
Do you think you should only introduce this new person to the kids if you want to marry them?
I would think so, but other people will be like, no.
I think when the relationship is getting serious.
Yes.
Like really, we are hanging out.
Like maybe
we are
she's
sneaking out
engaged.
for dinner.
Yes.
She's been engaged by this guy.
No,
Because
no,
now
no,
if
Take
you
it serious. Let's not even
if
only
you
say engaged.
introduce
If
a
you're
boyfriend-
serious.
Like if you're serious, let's say Barbara meets somebody and they date for 2 years strong, and she's happy and it's getting
Yes.
better. Surely, so just introduce.
And maybe I just want to date you. I
Just
don't want
say,
to.
oh, by
I
the
don't want
way-
you to
But
marry
now
me.
this guy, what if he happers, man? It'll
no,
affect
but
the kids.
no, you just
That
be
is
honest.
why. That is why
So
Eric
it
started
didn't
by
work out.
saying you need to take time to vet the person and know the person. The reason why I also agree with what Eric is saying, kids when they are there's like between 3 years and they say 7 to 8 years tend to be very clingy. Actually, before they're teenagers, and their emotions, they tend to love people. Kids are very innocent. So today you'll bring Eric. They like Eric. If Eric is a good person and they will tend to like Eric, play with Eric. Then after 2 months, you break up with Eric and bring an Emmanuel. You are confusing
This
their
guy should
emotions.
commit, Mazi.
That
Or-
is
But
why
see,
we are
that's
telling
his
you don't be
decision.
quick to
You
to
see?
bring someone to the house.
That's his decision to
That's his
decide.
decision, by the
so your decision on your end is to wait for him to decide.
And that
on
is
his decision.
why men and women who end up dating a single person should stop asking, when am I meeting your children? Excuse me. And your stripes. And some bonga points.
I think, Barbara, the other thing I've seen, maybe not so much a strong point, but I feel like a lot of single mothers like to second guess about their feeling to be in a relationship. I feel like it's very important if you're a single mother and you're listening, that you feel positive about wanting to date. I don't think it's right to think or feel that you're doing anything wrong by wanting someone or some time for yourself.
Yes.
Your personal life is vital and can help you to be sane. I know of a bunch of my friends who are single who keep saying things like, akina mtoto, the kid is well, ameshiba, amenona. You can go out and have a glass of wine. Yeah, so
It's just a motherly instinct.
Yes. So this idea of feeling bad because of a child, that you are a mother does not mean that you stop being a woman.
Yes.
Who want to be, maybe seduced and to dress up and go and enjoy a glass of wine. I feel like this side of the world is very
Judgmental.
We are very punitive when it comes to women wanting love. especially if it's a woman who has a child.
Yes.
You'd hear even guys in the estate saying, ameenda kupata mtoto mwingine, lakini huyu mama ni more aggressive.
Exactly.
Huyu mtoto hata hajafika miaka 5 ameenda date. So I think
society is also unfair, and maybe that's why many women tend to fear that, because they'll castigate you. They see you somewhere.
No, you should
I remember
shut
I
out
once,
with
yes,
society.
I remember I went out with my girlfriends, and when I was getting into the entrance, it was someone's birthday. I met someone who knows that I'm single and all that. Yeah, but we're not together with my ex, and the person goes like, "You're dating? Kwani, you've come here to do what?" And in my head, I was like, I've come to do what you've come to do. You know, I was a bit abrasive.
Did you use your karate moves?
No, I didn't use my karate moves
good,
that
that's good.
night. So I was
To me
calm,
only.
sweetie.
Yeah, that's
Niliacha. But I was, I wish I could have handled it better. But from that
In
particular
regard to karate?
no, not karate,
Oh,
and how I
I
responded. But I feel that many women, especially single women, go through that. They fear going, because if they go out, people castigate you. People want to talk about it. Excuse me, just as they have a life. They have a right.
I think
Is it the same for guys? Do guys get the same shade?
man,
No,
I told you about
there are
men.
double standards to
can
men
have
dating.
3 stomachs and have 3 wives.
Exactly.
You know, and they feel no shame. So
A man can have a wife, a clandestine affair, a mistress, and a girlfriend, and another one in the village, and he'll still be accorded respect.
No, I'm talking about
Well,
the
a woman
single-
tries
the
anything,
single
you'll think that
dating
he
man.
killed someone.
the single dating man
As
should
in
do
the,
what?
no, as in, does he get that kind of shit? Like the guy
I think they
was
should call us
the single
tweeters.
dad.
No,
so
no,
now
no.
he's
They don't get
quickly
the
going-
They're encouraged.
Unlike women, you see, men don't bear the marks of having given birth. Like, you see, when Barbara falls pregnant, all of us will see.
Yes.
But we'll never see the person who made her pregnant.
Yeah.
So now, then the society zooms on Barbara. So like, umepata ingine.
Na hana
Na
bwana.
ameanza kuenda out. Na unakunywaga shot for someone pregnant. Siuliza juzi. So it becomes very difficult. So that's why I'm saying it's very important to feel positive about wanting a date or even to fall in love. So that you don't tie yourself in that thing for, I am a mother. It's, yes, you're a mother, but you're also a woman and an attractive woman at it.
Yes.
Barbara, what do you think of when you fall in love, don't abandon your kids by spending all your free time with this new flame? So now you've met this new guy, and then now you get head over heels, and you're always all over the place with this new love.
And you forget your children.
Like you've forgotten your own kids. I feel like you have to balance.
Balancing is key. You have to strike a balance. I think that's why I tell people I don't want to get involved in that, because I always fear I might end up losing it, and one person will suffer. To be honest, anyone who is a single parent is actually having a single parent and is dating or is involved in a relationship. I think there are moments they have an issue of striking the balance. It's not easy, but they have to. And you need to actually get someone who understands that, because many people who have tried dating along the way are left with either this woman or this man will leave you because they're not able to understand that you want to go and take care of your kids. They're not able to understand, hey, Emmanuel, I can't meet you this Saturday. I have to be with the kids.
Yeah.
I've been working the whole weekend. So I think when you decide to enter a relationship and agree to date someone who has a child or has children, you also need to be very open-minded, because they will not always have time for you. And unfortunately, kids will come to the fore. And Eric has said in a different conversation, Eric once said that even another reason, and you can stand corrected, that for him, he has a fear also on that, because sometimes these women, and me being an example, we are so clouded. We are helicopter moms. We are clouded with our children. First thing is our children. Amekula, amelala, auntie this, auntie that. You can even forget that, hey, I am dating. We get ourselves from that equation. And this man can sometimes be seen once a month, and you're thinking you're dating this man. So it is a very hard balance. But if you decide to go that route, try and strike a balance. But please don't love that man more than your children. I know that, because anyway, you'll share different kind of love. There's love for your kid, your child, or your children, and there's also love for this man or this woman.
So Eric, maybe one should just relax until they're really ready.
Didn't you hear that men and women have feelings, have needs, and some of them want to date?
94.4 Spice FM. Eric, what do you have to say as I'm bringing on our special guest?
No, I am very keen. I am very, very keen and excited and looking forward to the conversation. Remember, we are having such a fantastic conversation here in the studio. We are talking about dating tips for single parents and how to, manage blended families. And we are looking forward to your feedback and your thoughts about the conversation. Remember, as always, you can share your thoughts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the handle @SpiceFMKE. If you're on Twitter, you want to plug in onto Twitter and remember the hashtag adults in the room so that we can better and quickly locate your tweets. Yes, so we also at the top of the hour, that is from 9 to 10 o'clock, we're going to be receiving some of your feedback on the telephone. The number, if you don't have it already, is 0719-012-600. You can call us about your thoughts on the topic and also share your feedback about where you're listening from. Remember, the conversation is dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended families. Back to you, Emmanuel.
Yes, and to join us, we're really honored all the way from the UK via Skype. We have Dr. Chris Hart, who, I know his name is known, man. I know it, man. I've been reading his article since I was one of those younglings.
Yeah.
The Sunday Nation and in Nairobi for many, many years. Now he's based in the UK, but I think he's global because, I read up on him recently and he said like you can find him online, which means that you can get him anywhere in the world, man. Dr. Chris Hart, one of the known psychologists. Welcome, sir. Can you hear us?
I can hear you very well. Am I on your end okay?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
We can hear you loud and clear. My name is Emmanuel.
Great. Good to meet you.
I'm the one you can see well. Eric, I'm with Eric, who is on my left.
I think I'll peep later, Chris. How are you? Good to hear.
No, you can actually peep now. So that when we're having that, you can just come here and say hi. You can come say hi. Barbara, come and say hi.
Hi, how you
Good to see
doing?
you.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Hello.
So
Hi, nice to see you.
yes, man. You're gonna see more of me, but you're gonna hear a lot of them. So
Okay.
Chris has joined us. Dr. Chris has joined us for this conversation. What are we talking about, Barbara?
We are talking about tips. Dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended family. I'll repeat that. Dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended families. Thank you for joining us.
And Chris, just to put you up to speed, of course, you're very experienced, and I don't think there's any question around a relationship that you haven't encountered yet. We were discussing tips for dating, especially for single parents. And a question came up and I answered it. My colleague here, Barbara, rather a conversation ensued. And I was talking about how I am very cautious not to maybe, and a lot of men share my sentiments, about not marrying, especially, say, somebody who has children or a child. But I have a question for you. I feel like it's very hard loving someone else's child, as you would your own. All right. And the question I was going to ask you is, what would you say to a blended family about easier ways to relate with your spouse's children? Say, for instance, I marry my colleague here, Barbara, who already has a child. Yes. Should I say the daughter does something, naughty? Should I spank Barbara's child, or should I leave it for Barbara to discipline her own biological child?
You said love somebody else's child. I think it's actually the other way around. We love our own children.
All right.
Sorry, did that come back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're
now
back.
we can hear you.
Yes.
If you just start that from the top.
Okay. Yeah, the problem is we are biologically organized to love our own children, something rotten. You think how awful children can be, yes, and yet we let them get away with it because they're ours. Now, we don't do that for anybody else's.
Yes.
And that's the cause of the problem. When you marry into a blended family, the other children are ordinary children to you.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it is hard to relate to those children as if they were your own.
Yes.
There's no question. And so that leads to some quite simple rules about how to run a blended family. And one of them is that you always let the natural parent do the discipline. So whenever a child is misbehaving, if you are the step parent, you just don't see it. You make quite sure you're on the same page with your spouse and then leave them to deal with the situation. And if you've got a fully blended family, where you've got your own children and your spouse has got their own children, then you apply that rule to all of them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that Barbara beats her own children and I beat my
Really, when you see it like that, it sounds like it's a war.
You put it so nicely.
Exactly.
Barbara, you're about to ask a question, and if you're listening, you can watch this live on www.spicefm.co.ke or on all the social media platforms, Spice FM KE on Facebook and Spice FM KE on Twitter. We are live. Barbara, go ahead.
Dr. Hart, I wanted to ask, in the event that you have decided to get into a blended family or a relationship, how do you manage the other party, the baby mama, the baby daddy, especially if they're involved in the child's life or they're active? And here I am, for example, just as Eric had said, now we are in a relationship and I have a child and my child's father is active in my daughter's life. How does Eric or any other parent manage that?
It is difficult. I mean, we have a tendency to want to be very selfish about our relationships. We want to build a little wall around them and not let anyone else in. And the fact of the matter is, though, that children desperately want to be fully connected to their natural parents, including the one who's not actually there full time. So unless you have a situation where the ex has vanished to Timbuktu or something, you are going to have to deal with them. The child is going to visit. They are going to want to contact. The father, the mother is going to come and visit. You are going to have to deal with it. And the only recommended thing to do is to turn it into a business-like relationship. You're not going to like one another. Because they're your spouse's ex, there is a certain level of hostility, shall we call it that?
Yes.
You can't avoid that, but you have to sweep it under the carpet as you interact with them. And you have to try and have some civilized conversations about how you're going to manage all the interactions. Like, for example, agreeing the times and places where people meet, where the children meet their distant parent and so on. You can imagine, if you can start a process of making that all go like clockwork, then a lot of the issues will disappear. Yeah?
All right, Dr. Chris, there's a conversation we had earlier about the time, like when is the best time for you to reveal to a single, like Barbara, for instance, my colleague has a child. So when I meet someone new, how soon or how fast should I share this information with this other party? Like, should I? They were saying
share the information that you've got a child.
Yes. Do I do it? Because I was saying that I think like
give me
like
3
dates. Give me like 3 dates or 4 dates
10?
before you
and
share.
I was saying immediately.
These guys were saying that you just share it on day one. I'm like, man, that's overkill.
Yeah, I generally say try and slip it into the conversation in the first 15 minutes.
Thank you.
What?
I mean, do it in an offhand sort of way. Something along the lines of, gosh, is that the time? I need to go at such and such to pick up my daughter or something like that.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Where you're not saying, hey, I'm going to make a political statement here.
Yeah.
You're just dropping it into the conversation.
Likely.
And, I mean, this is way before you've even started the relationship, isn't it?
Yes.
And so now, if that other person can't stand the thought of you having a child, they'll vanish out of your life with no drama at all.
Yes.
Now, the worst thing you can do is get really, really close to somebody, reveal that you've got a child after about 6 months, and then all hell breaks loose.
Emmanuel, Dr. Hart, actually, you've picked the words out of my mouth. Emmanuel was going to an extent of giving somebody hickeys. And then announcing after the hickeys that
asking
now
for
he
10
has a
dates.
child.
No, but your method was wrong, right? The political statement announcement, that's a wrong method. I love his method. He says just like do it smartly. Don't announce it. Like, hey, I have a baby. Do you want the baby or not? That's wrong.
No, but if you ask me...
We weren't saying that, but we were saying at least get it out of the way immediately. Yes.
Alrighty.
Oh, okay. So don't
It's
give
really
people...
critical to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I have another question for you. Another question that, like when we were having this discussion earlier before you came on, should you reveal this new party to your children when this guy has maybe engaged you or committed, something a commitment that they're gonna be with you for the long term? Instead of just revealing it, and then you break up, and then the kids' hearts are also broken. So I was suggesting maybe this person should show a sign that they're with you for the long haul before you introduce them to your kids.
Yeah. I mean, the right way to set about it is this. Right at the beginning, you shouldn't make any commitments to one another, you and your potential new spouse. You should just explore each other and get way past the point of, shall we say, discovering all the roadblocks before you get properly involved. So don't even date. Just meet, just talk, drink coffee together. Do that for weeks if necessary, and only even start dating when you're pretty sure that you know what you're about to do. So that by the time you start to talk about this new friend to your children, you actually know already that this thing's going to work. And now you start the conversation just by saying, hey, I've got a friend I want to meet for coffee. Would you like to join us? And so you take them along and buy them ice cream or something. And you don't make a big thing about who they are. And of course, what you obviously do is you check to see how they get along.
Yes.
They might hate each other on sight. If your date has got children of their own, you bring them all along and you see again, how do they get on? And you will draw a line under everything if these things don't work out, won't you?
Yeah, true, man. And what
so cross all those bridges before you start saying, hey, this person's going to start staying over and da-di-da-di-da.
Yeah.
And what if your children reject your new love? Can you just go ahead and tell them, hey, listen, this is my heart, and I'm going to do what my heart wants?
You can't do that.
Yeah, it depends what the cause of the rejection is. If it's actually all about your ex, then you can probably get past it. If it's perhaps just, the kid wanted to do something else and they can't go playing football, they have to come with you to have a coffee date or something, don't worry about it. But if you sense that there's a real personality clash or something like that, then you're going to have to give it real serious thought.
Yes. I agree. And is it?
I mean? There's a very strong probability, though, that if they've got past all the hurdles in starting the relationship with you, then there won't be issues like that in relationships with your children. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Dr. Hart, just to add on to what Emmanuel is saying and just ask a follow-up question on that is it okay and is it right? Because we've had that conversation before. For example, if my potential significant other does not click well with my daughter or my children, is it okay just to avoid that relationship and say, hey, I tried, next round? Because I feel, and I stand corrected, me and him are the couple. However, for us to make a family or for this to work, I need my kids synced to this relationship. So if they are not, can I just forget about him?
I think it's more complicated than that. Obviously, you will never find a perfect partner.
True.
There'll be compromises all over the place, and some of those compromises might include your children.
Oh.
So if your relationship with your partner is very, very good and clearly destined for the long haul, but there is friction with your children, then I would work on that. If, on the other hand, you're in a slightly iffy relationship and they don't get along with your children, that would definitely be the last straw.
Okay.
I would say goodbye to them.
Oh.
So I think it depends on the quality of the overall relationship, obviously including your children.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Incidentally, it's worth saying that when older couples meet, starting a blended relationship, they often keep their children at arm's length. In other words, the older you are, and by implication, the older your children are, things get more complicated. And these older couples often decide that they're not really going to, shall we say, get into one household. They actually go on having a relationship, but with two houses. Is that making sense?
Yes.
They actually duck some of those issues. Because, for example, if you are meeting somebody and starting a relationship and they have children who are toddlers, then the children are going to be much more easy to deal with than if, for example, they've got teenagers.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes, I see.
You might never get a teenager to accept a new partner, your new partner. In fact, teenagers have a tendency to leave home early if a new partner comes in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Dr. Chris, I read a UN report. So according to United Nations statistics, the number of children a couple have is one of the leading reasons why most couples divorce. So it was said that children in around 2 or 3 years, the more likely they are to divorce. Do you think that's true?
Yes. Yeah, yes, it is true.
Oh.
The statistics have been widely published, and you're exactly right. The single biggest predictor of divorce is childlessness. And if a couple have one child, their chances of divorce drop quite significantly. When they have 2 children, they drop further. It goes down a beautiful exponential. By the time they've got 5 children, nobody divorces.
You're in for the long haul.
You're in for the long haul if you've got 5 kids or more.
You once said, I remember, I think in one of the interviews I watched before you left here, that men over the age of 35 are quite complicated. And so that a woman in her 30s needs to get, their chances of getting married becomes quite slim. Do you still hold the same view?
It's a little more complicated than what you just said. Single men over the age of about 35 are very complicated.
Yes.
So a woman
I agree.
who is,
I have one in the studio.
35 years old.
Yes.
So yes, a man who has never married, who has never been in a long live-in relationship, and who is 35 plus years old, I would put a big black cross against his name if I met that guy, because he's in a very high risk category. On the other hand, a guy who's 40, 45, whatever, and has left a marriage for some reason is a much more likely proposition. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
If nothing else, he's been properly trained by some previous woman.
Oh, thank you,
Hopefully
Dr.
not.
Hart. Someone has trained you. Dr. Hart, I have a follow-up question on what Eric had asked in the essence of children. I don't know if it happens abroad, but on a local setting, many people who get into relationship with single parent or blended family, you find the man really wants a child. It is very hard to find someone who will be like, hey, let us come, let's couple up and just enjoy life together. There's always this thing about the African men asking, are you going to get for me a child? Which I've experienced, and I always say I don't want to date because I do not want that kind of arrangement. What is with the men being clingy over having a child? Yet you have a child, he has a child, but hey, he feels like he has to mark a signature.
Yeah, I've actually met people at both ends of the spectrum. I've met lots of men who don't want any more children. I've met lots of men who do want another child. I've met many more men who are okay about it. In other words, if you decide you want a child, they'll say yes. And if you say, I don't want any children, they'll say, that's okay.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So you do, in fact, have all the various possibilities. It may just be that the ones who say they want a child are the noisy ones. And so you tend to hear more of them.
Yes.
Because there are plenty of guys who are sort of mid-40s. They've got children who are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and don't want to go through all the toddler years again and all the rest of it. They're quite relaxed to just bring up the children they've got.
Dr. Hart, what do you think about sometimes you meet a single person who you're interested in, but they talk too much about their kids, man. Like it's overkill. Like, my kid.
But it's my child.
Should there be yes, I understand it's your child, but don't you think there should be, like, I want to know you. Thank God you have a child, thank God, but I want to know you. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Emmanuel, you mean?
Well, you're right, I think. But I think it goes for all topics that somebody is talking too much about. I mean, if you started going out with somebody and all they could talk about was, I don't know, software or AK-47s or Ford motor cars, you'd be pretty bored and pretty upset pretty quickly.
Yes.
And I think children just comes into the same continuum. An adult should, of course, talk about their children, but it should be proportionate. They should mostly, when they're out on a date with you, mostly talk about each other. Yeah, and the children get mentioned, and it's fun to talk about them, but it should be proportionate. It shouldn't dominate the conversation.
Yeah,
if it does, then that suggests that you've got something of an unbalanced person in front of you, and maybe that's another of these crosses in one of the boxes that's going to doom the relationship.
Dr. Hart, how does a man or a woman who is a single parent know when is the right time to date? Because from Emmanuel's question, you'd find one of the parent is talking so much about their child. Is that a sign that they are not yet ready to be in a relationship because they're so involved with their child?
Well, most people are quite disturbed in the year or so after they separate from a spouse. So you can say, as a rule of thumb, the first year they're going to behave very oddly. And if you really like them, you're going to have to put up with a lot of very strange behavior. I wouldn't commit to somebody in less than a year after they had separated from their partner for that reason. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Some people can take quite a bit longer before they're ready to start a committed relationship again. You are just going to have to tick the boxes. It's that you can't say, oh, wait till 15 months. Everybody's okay at 15 months. What you've got to do is see how they behave, see how their lives are developing, see how the relationship with their ex is developing, see how their children are developing, and see how you feel and fit in with all of that. And that will tell you when is the right time to really commit to the relationship.
All right. So I once read that a kiss can be a big telltale sign about whether or not you're compatible with somebody. Further down the same article, I read that if you don't like the kiss or someone's smell, then it's a big telltale sign that your DNA is incompatible. Do you share the same view?
I don't know. Like I said right at the beginning, we're very, very tolerant of our own children and a bit short-tempered about everybody else's. You think about how you put up with yours misbehaving in a restaurant and hate everybody else making a noise. Now, there's going to be an element of that going through even the best of relationships. So the fact that you don't entirely like your new partner's children, I think you should regard as quite normal, actually. Especially to begin with.
That's dangerous.
But I'm sure you shouldn't allude to it, though.
Because you'll be left.
Well, I think good grown-ups ought to be able to talk about things like this. They ought to be able to say, look, frankly, your little monster does annoy me. Can we find a way of dealing with
it? Dr. Chris, I'll just reiterate the question. I think you missed bits of it. I was reading that a kiss, all right, Kiss, can be a way to tell whether or not you're compatible with your significant other. And if you don't like the kiss or someone's smell, then your DNA isn't quite compatible. Is that true? Do you share the same view?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Yes.
I'm afraid our bodies play a lot of tricks on us. And one of them is that they do quite a lot of chemical analysis when we get close enough to people. It starts with smells, But it gets really intense when you're actually in contact. So when you kiss somebody's skin or really kiss them, then your body pulls out chemicals and starts doing an analysis. It checks out the compatibility of your DNA. It checks out the compatibility of your immune systems. And if the answer comes back that the children that result from that DNA and that immune system are going to be good children, then that person will taste nice.
Oh, really?
You won't have the thought doesn't go through your mind, oh gosh, we're going to have nice children together. You'll just think that kissing this person is nice.
Yes.
But we've all had that horrifying experience, haven't we, of kissing somebody and thinking,
oh,
I
yes,
can't do that again.
I once had
If you have that experience,
yes.
I once had the
Sorry, I was just going to say, if you do kiss someone like that, then don't do it again.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I think that's very interesting because I once had a very sad experience. And the kiss was not only horrendous, but I could swear there was a goat in the room.
Man, that's funny. Dr. Hart, at what point should you introduce, your kids' bills now to the relationship?
Bills?
Yeah, like now you're dating this lady who has kids, or this guy, and she starts bringing up the money conversation, because now you've now been accepted. Should it be rejected all the way till the relationship is maybe you only pay for, maybe if you marry, that's when I can commit my money to your kid. Like when can we have now the money conversation in regard to the kids?
I think it starts about 3 or 4 months into the relationship. In other words, a long time before you make a final commitment. It starts in very innocent ways. Like the first date or two, he probably pays for everything. But pretty swiftly after that, people start to contribute to all sorts of expenses. Like one picks up the restaurant bill, but the other one pays the taxi and things like that. Now, from that flows some quite natural conversations about let's call it your entertainment budget, the money that you spend on each other and who should be contributing to it. And that can grow slowly into a more and more involved conversation about money. It starts with the fact that you're not going to be a very happy couple if you can't tell each other the truth. So pretty early on, you're going to start exchanging information like how much you earn and how much rent you're paying and how much it costs to send your kids to school and all the other things. And gradually, in amongst all of that conversation, you begin to develop a shared budget, a budget for the whole group. Now, if that's a conversation that's extremely difficult to have, then I don't know that I would want to commit to that person.
Yes.
It ought to be a conversation which will have lots of sharp edges. People will have different ideas about how to spend their money. But it ought to be possible to create a joint, call it a budget, for want of a better term.
Okay.
And if you find you can't do that, then I don't think you should marry a person like that.
Yes. If you can't do that,
you see
Mano.
what I mean? Because if you can't talk about money, if you can't decide how you're going to run your budget, then it's telling you that there's something very deeply wrong with you as a couple.
So just a question on that. So this particular individual, if it's a man coming into a relationship or a lady, needs to be able to chip in your child or your children's bills or basic living. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying that the couple should start thinking of their enterprise almost like it was a little company that they're running.
Yes.
Where they're both directors, where they've got streams of income, streams of expenditure, and they start to deal with it as if they were the directors of a company. And if they can't do that, then maybe they're
not meant to be
suited for one another.
Yes.
Or maybe they're not suited to be married even.
All right, Dr.
I mean,
Hart.
you know how some people are fiercely independent.
Yes.
Yeah,
My money is my money.
Doc-
All that
Yes.
stuff. If you're with somebody like that, then don't get too close.
Dr. Hart, we're going to take a couple of seconds break. It's getting to 9 o'clock right here in Nairobi. This is 94.4 Spice FM. We are live with Dr. Hart. You need to stream this one, www.spicefm.co.k. You need to see and interact with this conversation live. We're going to come back with more of questions with Dr. Hart. Please remember, you can contribute using the hashtag adults in the room. We'll be back before you can say Rumpelstiltskin.
Sugar and spice.
4.4 Spice FM.
This is
Nairobi.
94.4 Spice FM. It's exactly 9 o'clock. We are the adults in the room, and thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. Remember, today we have a special guest all the way from the UK via Skype, Dr. Chris Hart, and we're having a conversation about what, Barbara?
We are having a conversation and we're discussing dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended families. As Emmanuel has said, you can plug into this conversation through all our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. You could also send in questions that you have for Dr. Hart, and also we shall be picking calls in a few moments, and the number to call is 0719 012 600.
Eric, do you have some action on Twitter?
Yes, just to read a few. Jenny says she's listening and following the conversation all the way from Nyeri. Brian Kirui from Eldoret says, locked till the end. I love the show. I'm watching and listening to you guys. A very good evening to you. Dr. Chris Hart is going to be with us for the next whole hour. So, Mr. Hart, just at the tail end of the conversation before we went on a break, I was thinking about the legal disputes that sometimes ensue when a blended family comes together. So a typical scenario where two families become one can add to the legal issues that arose when each original family separated. So in a divorce, one partner may get the family house, but when a new partner comes into the picture, the legal agreement may need to be changed. So in a typical arrangement, say I'm marrying Barbara, she has a house from the last marriage she was in. How do you advocate that we go about that? Should we sell the house and maybe buy another house? What happens?
Well, I think the most important thing is you must take legal advice. I mean, if you are both divorced, legally divorced, and you've gone through all the financial separation that implies, then there probably won't be any issues. Your property is your property to do as you see fit with.
Yes.
But if you are separated and not divorced, and a lot of people do start relationships at that phase, then life can get really quite complicated legally. And so if you are thinking about, for example, purchasing a house, or thinking about investing, or thinking about starting a business, or doing anything that might add to your marital estate, might have implications on your divorces, then you need to take legal advice straight away. It's perfectly possible to keep the new relationship separate from the old, but the lawyers have to put it in the right form of words straight away. So you shouldn't just do things casually. You should actually pay for some legal advice. It will save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah. I once read an article, sorry, Emmanuel, to cut it short, an article you wrote many years back. And I'm trying to piece what you wrote down. But you said somewhere that the love chemical, waters out or runs out after around 2 years.
Love fades.
So why is it that, the life shelf of most relationships seem to last just a little, up to 2 years, and then everything goes belly up?
What it is that there are three distinct sets of chemicals going on in the brain, three discrete pathways, if you like, in the brain. The first one is just, call it lust, if you like. It's the thing that makes you attracted to somebody. It tries to get you into bed as fast as possible. The second is the thing called limerence, which is the thing that... Are we back?
Yes,
we're back.
Yes, we're back.
Okay. Limerence is the thing that makes everybody infatuated. And that's the thing that lasts about 18 months. And its purpose is to enable you to take the risks involved in committing yourself to a relationship. But if you remember what limerence is like, what infatuation is like, it's a roller coaster. 1 minute you're ecstatically happy, 2 minutes later you're anxious and worrying about everything. It's no basis for rearing children. And so it's replaced after about 3 to 4 years with the oxytocin pathways that are all about attachment and long-term bonding. Now it's the gap between those two that causes the trouble. Because generally speaking, it's called phenylethylamine that moderates the limerence pathways. That tends to diminish around about 18 months to 2 years. And the oxytocin quite often doesn't build up for 3 or 4. And so most people have a flat spot between the two.
Yikes.
If you can just stick in there, if you can just hang in,
Life will change.
then things
You
come
just
right
shocked
in the end.
Emmanuel.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So what would you say guarantees longevity? Just hanging in there?
Maybe.
I think it's just recognizing what's going on, and trying to help the attachment process move more quickly. So, for example, if you are a fragile couple who don't trust one another too much, then the oxytocin pathways are delayed, and so maybe you won't make it. On the other hand, if you are very open and very honest with one another and very affectionate, and you spend a lot of time together, and especially if you're great cuddlers, people who touch each other a lot and things like that, then the oxytocin pathway.
Yeah. All right. Can you hear us? All right. I think we're going to give him a moment to come back. We're live with Dr. Chris Hart all the way from the UK via Skype. Doctor, can you hear us now?
He's back.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
All right. We lost you at oxytocin. So if you could just take that again.
Well, I was just saying that those 3 pathways are not quite synchronized. The lust chemicals only last a week. The limerence chemicals last about 2 years maybe, and oxytocin can take as long as 4 years to strike up. And oxytocin is the one that drives long-term attachment, long-term parenting. So it's all around stability and attachment. And if you are feeling a bit, unsure of one another in the 1, 2, 3 year period, the oxytocin pathway may never strike up, and so you'll end up parting. But if you're a good couple who are close and spend a lot of time together and are very open and honest with one another, that will strike it up earlier, and so you won't have a gap. You'll just all be plain sailing.
That is interesting. Yes, go ahead, Barbara.
Dr. Hart, I have a question for single parents who are trying to date or couple up with someone. Is it advisable for them to date someone who's younger than them? For example, if you're above 35 and you have a child, is it advisable to date someone who is lower or is younger than you?
You're
And
speaking
has
from
no
a woman's
kid.
point of view.
I'm speaking from a woman's point of view because I always get castigated when I say that I do not want a younger man, because I feel, and I stand corrected, that a younger man who already one, he's younger. I am above 35, going to my 4th floor, and I do not have, this man doesn't have a child, first, doesn't have prior knowledge of how to deal with the family and now I want to bring him to a setup where there's a child. I always feel that is very sketchy for me, but people always say, no, love is what? But is it wrong for me or any other person to feel that, hey, by the time I bring someone or I'm coupling with someone and I have a child, they need to be of a certain age?
It's not actually age. It's, I suppose the best word is maturity.
Yes.
There are some people who are mature at 20. There are some people who are still immature at 50.
Yes.
So what you're really looking for, what you're really looking for is somebody who matches your maturity. Now, that's as a lot of that is about where they've reached in their lives. And there are risks associated with being with somebody who has not reached the age of parenting.
Yes.
You know, a 25-year-old.
A 25-year-old? Yeah, a 25-year-old.
Sorry for that.
That may not. Yeah, the 25-year-old may have a set of values and expectations that are just not compatible with children.
Yes.
On the other hand, a 45-year-old might be as boring as sin, So you're going to have to make a choice as to, do you want the excitement of somebody a bit younger, or do you want the stability of somebody a bit older? And I'm afraid it's a balancing act, and you won't get it. It's not. It's
I
not
will
something
get it
where
in
there's
one
a neat
person.
formula. You might struggle to get it all in one person. Yes.
Dr. Hart, what from your I'm sure you've met so many couples. What do you think is the success rate of blended families?
If you just look at the raw statistics, they're not very good. The success rate for first-time families is only about 40 to 50%. And the success rate for second marriages is not as good as that. But that conceals a lot of differences between the good and the bad couples. A lot of couples should just quite simply never get together.
True.
And if you are clear that you have met the right person, and that their values and yours match closely, and you are very open and honest with one another, and you have come to a good arrangement for managing each other's children, then your success rate will probably be very strong indeed. Because apart from anything else, you're bringing lots of experience to the second marriage. But some people don't profit from experience, do they? They just make the same mistakes all over again. The trick is being able to spot which sort of person you're with before you commit to them.
And what's the effect in your experience on the kids?
It depends what you mean. Kids find divorce very troublesome. I'm not saying it has a major lasting impact, but while it's happening, they're quite disturbed by it. And you will hear your children saying things like, "Are you two going to get back together again? And can't you try to put things back how they should be?" They'll go on saying that for years. But once they get past all of that, then the effects of having a second adult, another adult in their lives, like in effect a father and a stepfather or a mother and a stepmother, can actually be very positive. I mean, part of it is that a step parent has to recognize that they are not a parent. So you don't try and be the mum or the dad. You make yourself into a sort of special friend, more like an uncle perhaps than a father or a mother. Now, think what that can do for a child. A child who's got a mother, a father, and a very loving friend is generally speaking better off.
An added value.
It's added value, yes. And so the results can be very positive. I could tell you a few horror stories, of course, but you get the point I'm making.
Yes.
If you choose the right person and they are an asset in the relationship, then the benefits for the children can be great.
So if you're in a blended family and you broke up and you had a very good relationship with the other kids, the kids of the other party, and you've broken up, you shouldn't even reach out to these kids because, as you've said, now you're friends.
Yeah, it's tricky. Lots of second-time exes do try to stay close to their stepchildren, but it rarely works. I mean, there are always exceptions, but it's hard. I mean, there isn't the legal driver for maintaining contact. The law requires that a spouse, an ex, allows contact with their ex. But there's no such thing for stepchildren.
Yes.
And so, it gets very difficult.
Yeah,
Things like visitation are just not going to happen, for example.
You have to just fizzle away and forget.
You just have to heart and move on, right?
Yes. Accept and move on.
Dr. Chris Hart, now that I have you here, I have to ask you this. As a single man, All right. What would you say are some of the best and the worst places between, say, a workplace or meeting a significant other in the bar? Which one is better and why? I know you've made comments about these. I can't remember quite what you said. But
Right.
yes, what are your views on that? About where people meet?
These days, most people are meeting their spouses, whether it's first time round or second time round, in the world of work. That doesn't necessarily mean a co-worker, but it might be a client, a supplier, a consultant, the banker. You know, it can somebody you meet through work.
Yes.
And if you think about it, you can see why that happens. We spend a lot of time at work.
Yes.
Don't we?
Yes,
and we get to know people very well, and we see a lot of them. And it's almost like a pre-courtship. You already know how those people behave. You trust them, and you know how they deal with their exes, for example, even before you've started a relationship with them. So there are lots of things going for a relationship which starts through the world of work. Like I say, the wider world of work. You can imagine networking as you go about your day-to-day life at work. You're going to meet a lot of people, and with reasonable luck, one of those people will be a potential new spouse. It is a natural thing to do these days.
So should somebody totally avoid a person they've met at the bar, maybe?
Well, I wouldn't say totally,
Cupid.
but I mean, think about it. If you meet somebody under the cold light of day at 2:00 in the afternoon as a consequence of a business meeting, you already know quite a lot about them. If you meet somebody at 2 a.m. in a bar and you're both half drunk and you know nothing about them, what do you rate the chances of success? You see?
All right,
I mean, I'll tell you another very interesting thing. If you start a little networking conversation with somebody through the world of work, the chances are they'll tell the honest truth to you. If you ask them where do they work, they'll tell you. You start the same conversation with somebody at 2 a.m. in a bar, and they probably won't tell you the truth.
They're going to edit a lot of their truths.
Or they'll be incapacitated.
They'll lie, they'll exaggerate, they'll conceal,
Yeah, that's true.
94.4 Spice
Bars are
FM.
bad news.
Yes.
94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room. Today we've been joined by Dr. Chris Hart all the way from the UK via Skype. You can actually follow this conversation on our website, spicefm.co.k. You'll be able to see us, including Dr. Hart, who's looking younger than the last time I saw him on TV. What are we talking about, Barbara?
We're talking about dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended family. We shall also be picking calls, and the number to call is 0719012600. If you have any burning question you'd like to ask Dr. Hart, here is your chance.
Dr. Hart, as we're waiting for the phone calls, because, we are live, I've already put up your, telephone microphones so that I can hear you clearly. Remember, you have to switch off your radio so that we can hear you clearly from wherever you're calling in from. So as we're waiting for the phone calls, Daktari, do you think it is wise, especially in a blended family, to just keep especially the assets separate? Like you come together with different assets, so you decide you're going to make this blended family. So I'm going to keep my assets with me and my children, and the other party is going to keep their assets with in the name of herself and her children.
Yes.
So in the event that maybe one of you dies, like there are no those problems of, hey, now I'm dead, we're a blended family. There are those squabbles that come with step families.
Yes. I mean, I don't know that there is a right and wrong answer to what you just said, but in practice, you can see what people choose to do. Young second families, young blended families, have a tendency to put everything into one pot.
Yes.
And that's probably because their circumstances are probably still quite simple. If there's only one house and if there's only one investment pot or something like that. But now fast forward, where you're talking about people who are perhaps, say, 50 years old, maybe their investment portfolio is very complicated. Maybe the children are already of, near adult age. Now, couples like that often maintain a very complete separation. Like they never jointly invest. They just continue to invest separately. They keep everything separate. Now, like I say, I don't think there is a right and wrong between those two extremes, but you can easily see how couples make those choices depending on their circumstances.
Understandable.
Yeah, because Dr. Hart, I come from a blended family. My dad was a polygamous man,
right?
But he since passed on. And one of the problems right now is that, with the law of succession in Kenya, now for us to inherit the things that he wanted us to inherit, we all, as a blended family, have to go to court and tell the court that yes, we've agreed to, this guy getting this piece of land, this person getting this car. So the problem is now, if one of us says they're not interested,
it
one of us,
collapses.
It all collapses. So for me, I think it's safer if you just have, each family just has their own stuff. That's my opinion.
I want to agree with Dr. Hart on the part of young families. When you have a young family, then it's different. But when you're older, yes, I can get where you're coming from. But since you are coming you're coming together, and I feel you should just make that chance of making it work and putting your resources in one kitty and actually treating all the kids as equal and not making other children feel better or lesser than the others.
Yeah, Dr. Hart, you wanted to respond to that?
It hanged.
Yeah, it's hanged. The number to call is 0719012600. We are live with Dr. Chris Hart, who is all the way in the UK. Eric,
he's back?
He's back. Eric, do you have any other question?
No, just 0719012600. I'll ask something in a minute.
In a moment. Yes. So is the law of succession different, say, in the UK, in regard to the whole family having to agree in regard to giving out assets?
The law of succession in the UK is really dominated by the concept of a will. So whatever you write in a will is going to happen. And the courts will, even if you left all your money to a cat's home, they'll insist that it goes to the cat's home. So it's relatively straightforward. Nobody can object to a properly written will, even if they're very greatly disadvantaged by it.
Yeah, most.
I suspect, in fact, if the same thing is largely true in Kenya, if you draw up a skillfully executed will and you have good executors and a good lawyer, I don't think there would be a problem with that either.
Yeah, true. But I'm sure from your years in Kenya, you realized it's not very popular, especially in many of our cultures, to write a will.
Indeed so.
Yeah, like my dad didn't write a will. It was considered a taboo. Like, hey, why are you talking about death? And I'm actually alive. Alrighty, we're waiting for your phone call, 0719012600. Barbara, do you have a question for Dr. Hart?
Yes, I do have a question for Dr. Hart. I wanted to ask, when it comes to single parents, sorry, I'm a single parent, so I will tend to direct more of the questions on that line, is how does one strike a balance? And when I mean a balance, I mean in the sense of like, is it wrong if how do you strike a balance between your child and this particular man you're dating or this particular woman? And is it wrong to be that parent? I know Emmanuel already said there are those parents who talk so much about their child, and I think I could be that parent. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm like, how do you strike a balance, or how do you make this other person understand that, hey, I'm not crazy, but I love you this way and I love her this way?
I think every couple has this problem, not just second time round. The biggest mistakes couples can make.
Hello, yeah, you're back.
One of the biggest mistakes couples can make is neglecting each other. So even though we recognize that parenting is very demanding and that the bonds between parents and their children is very strong, you still have to set enough time aside for your spouse. Now, if you do that, there isn't going to be a problem. And by the way, when I say enough time, I'm not talking about half the day or something like that. I'm talking about, say, an hour in the evening when the children have gone to bed, where you can be adults and, not have to worry about children all the time.
Yes.
You see what I'm driving at?
Yes.
You've got to strike that balance, come what may. And if you do, then things will be very successful. And your love for your children won't get in the way. But if you neglect that, then it certainly will.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the challenges about blended families, Dr. Hart, is sometimes the mixed feelings that oftentimes arise about step-parents, especially from the children. So children feeling confused about their relationship with a step-parent and sort of just the challenges plus difficulties of sorting out the feelings for the biological father versus the father they live with. I was talking to a friend of mine this afternoon, and he says that one of his brother's wife got married to a woman who had a child, and this child had a big portrait of his biological father
in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about if how would a parent navigate that? Okay, and in this case, this biological father is diseased. But you see, he's very present in this child's life. So how do you balance that with the children?
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's ever any doubt that children feel very attached to their true biological parents, even if, for example, they've never met them. I mean, there's a classic story, isn't there? The one about Steve Jobs, who had a daughter who he refused to acknowledge until she was about 18 years old. But she pursued him. She was determined to have a relationship with him, and she succeeded in the end. And he eventually admitted that he regretted what he'd done. He enjoyed the relationship once it started. I don't think you can avoid children wanting to be very close to their true biological parents. I mean, sometimes that's not possible, with a parent who refuses to have a relationship with a child. But in general, if you are a step-parent, you are going to have to, how should we say, tolerate? No, I'd like a stronger word than that. You're going to have to encourage the relationship between your stepchild and their biological distant parent, because it's an important part of their lives.
There's the other...
And the child will like you more for facilitating lots of contact with their parent. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're asking another question.
Yes. There's the other issue of sort of like identity confusion. You see, a typical case where if the mother's name changes to the last name of the new husband, while the children of the mother keep their own last name, some children may feel a sense of abandonment. So should a parent maybe consider a name change when the kids grow slightly older?
Generally speaking, no. And most kids prefer to stay with the name they've got.
Yes.
In that sort of situation. I mean, if a child starts to raise an issue like that, I mean, it can happen in a case, for example, where the child was very young when they met their stepfather, and the real father is very distant, takes no interest in the child. 10 years later, you could imagine that child starting to say, "I'd like to be identified as your child." But most don't. Most prefer to maintain the biological trace, if I can call it that.
And also, what do you think about, like in Kenya, in your experience in Kenya, like I've seen kids being told to call, this guy uncle, and then suddenly, this uncle turns into now dad.
Yes.
Or mommy's special friend.
Are those, like if you compare like in the UK or in the West and the Kenyan sort of blended family, what are the differences that you've seen?
There aren't really many differences, I have to say. All around the world, couples who remarry struggle with the step relationship. It's undoubtedly the most difficult relationship we ever have. And you will find just about every conceivable solution being tried by those couples. And like I say, there aren't really any right and wrong answers in these things. And I can only say what seems to work or what is common, what a lot of couples do. And for example, a lot of successful couples don't encourage their children to call a step-parent mum or dad. The child might choose to, but if you listen carefully, you'll notice that the true call their father dad, and the stepchild doesn't actually use a name at all. They don't actually call them by their given name, and they don't call them dad. They just duck the issue. Some couples actually encourage the use of Christian names, first name, but quite a few children find that uncomfortable. Calling
a stranger,
a parent type person by their given name is a slightly odd thing to do, especially in public. Yes, it feels disrespectful. It feels odd. You introduce them to, say, your other children friends, school friends, that sort of thing, and you introduce them as Fred or something, and they all think, "What the heck's going on here? Who's Fred?"
Dr. Chris, would you say that children have a difficult time sharing parents in a blended setting?
Now, what do you mean by sharing it?
Yeah, say I marry a woman who has children and I bring my own children. How does that play out for her children and mine in regards to...
Like Dr. Chris, the first time I met my stepbrother, we were playing, and then my dad he dropped him at home, and then he went, I think, to the shop. Then as he was driving back, I ran towards his car. I'm like, "Dad!" And then this guy also says, "Oh, yes, Dad." So we started fighting. We just started fighting there on the spot. Like, "That's my dad. What do you mean, Dad? Who are you?" So I think that's in regard to what Eric is asking.
Yes. So, is it always difficult for them to share?
Well, it is. But I mean, the situation you've just described, in both cases, the man was dad, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. But the more common situation is the one where in one case it's dad and in the other one it isn't. Now, the way most parents deal with these things is that the true parent makes a point of spending lots of time with their children, and the same is happening on the other side. And they have a slightly more distant relationship with the stepchildren. So, for example, your own child, you'd probably throw your arms around them and give them a great big hug if they were feeling emotional or something. You probably wouldn't do that to the stepchild.
Yes.
Why? I think some people would. Or am I wrong to think that? Because there's something I liked when you said on the first hour, when you said for some children, having a second parent or bringing a second parent into the equation changes a lot. And it's good for them.
I think Dr. Chris, he'll be back in a second. We're here with Dr. Chris live all the way from the UK. Charles, I see you, 0719012600. I'm going to be picking up your phone calls back to back all the way till 10 o'clock. Remember, what are we talking about, Barbara?
We are talking about dating tips for single parents and how to manage blended family. And now Dr. Hart is back, so you can call. The number to call is 0719-012-600.
So, Doctor, you were answering that question before you went off. All right, let's pick up this phone call as we get to hear Dr. Chris. Hello, Spice FM. Hello.
Hello, Spice FM.
Yes, sir. Yes, madam. Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry about that. Hi, ma'am.
This is Eunice from... I'm fine. I'm Eunice from Nyeri.
Yes.
I'm listening to a show.
Yes.
I'm learning a lot. I've learned a lot
Do you have
Say
any?
hi to
Do you have any question for Daktari?
Barbara and Eric.
Hi.
Tumesalimika sana. How have you been, and do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, I have a question. I wanted to ask this way.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to get married, the question that Barbara asked, that he's going to fourth floor and wants to marry a guy who is younger than you. You know, these young guys, even if they accept you with your kid, they will change. So, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, are you speaking from experience?
Huh?
Are you speaking from experience or just suspicion?
No.
Do you want to repeat the question?
No, I have a friend who went through site.
My sister, could you please repeat the question from the top?
I'm saying this.
Yes.
I'm saying this.
Yes.
You have a kid, eh?
Yes.
And the guy that you are dating is younger than you.
Oh yes.
At first place, you are he is interested in you. Kidogo anaanza kuchange. So what will you do na mnaanza kuishi kwa nyumba moja?
So he's living with you and the kid.
Our question is, the guy changes. In the beginning, he acts like things are okay. Then he changes. So he's asking, what should she do?
All right.
Dr. Hart, have you heard that question?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, so she is a lady calling from Nandi, and she was saying that in the beginning, especially when dating younger guys and you have a child, they feign interest, and then farther down the road, they change. So she's asking, supposing she's caught up like her friend in such a situation, what should she do?
Right. I mean, the big problem is that, of course, a lot of particularly younger men, are a bit opportunistic, and they will make all sorts of windy promises about the children of a single mother, for example, and then they don't carry through.
Yes.
And the trick, I hate to say this, is to spot a person like that before you commit to them.
So he says you spot the person before you commit.
Commit, yes.
Yeah, which is what you were talking about, Eric, earlier about starting like you want to go.
Yes, start as you intend to go.
Or intend to finish.
Yes, start as you intend to go all the way.
All right, Doc, let's pick up another phone call. Hello, Spice FM.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. What's your name?
My name is Ali from Lanet.
Alrighty. Karibu sana. What's your question or what are your comments?
My question to the doctor is...
Yes.
Divorce is terrible to the kids, as he said.
Pardon me? We can't hear you. Be audible.
The doctor said...
Yes.
Divorce is a trouble to the kids.
All right, divorce.
Yes.
Who is supposed to care the kids between the father and the mother after the divorce?
Who is supposed to take care of the kid after the divorce?
Yeah, assume I divorced my wife. Should I leave the kids with the wife, or should I take my kids? As a father, I have the responsibility to take care of my kids. But sometimes when the wife gets married to another husband, then my kids call that man uncle. I feel terrible. How should that be handled?
All right, so thank you for that question. As we are waiting for Doc's response, what do you guys think here in the studio?
Yeah. Dr. Hart, are you back?
Yeah, the Doc is back. Dr. Hart,
Yes,
there's someone who's just called and said, Eric, I think you'd describe it better.
Yeah, so he says that supposing a relationship ends and they pursue a divorce, who then should take care of the kids? I think he didn't say this, but I suspect that he's saying in the event, even if the wife is given custody to the kids and the wife has gotten ahead and married somebody else, I think the question was, should he still be expected to take care of his children? And I think the answer is
Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, a biological father should take care of his biological children,
Yes.
regardless of their circumstances. In other words, if they are, broadly speaking, living with their mother, he should still be part of their lives. He should be financially responsible, just to the same extent as he would have been if he'd been living with her. And he must be in their lives in the sense of making contact with them, spending time with them, helping them, doing all the things that a father would do.
Absolutely. I was just short of saying that the relationship has only ended between him and her,
And not your
him
children.
and the children.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Dr. Hart, we have a lot of cases of suicide right now in Kenya, if you've been following. We have many, especially men, and I'm just going to take advantage of your presence here to ask you this question. Many men are finding themselves, you have a family, and you have so many things affecting you, but you have all that within yourself, and it's leading to many cases of suicide in Kenya. So what would be your advice to especially married men in regard to getting out of this rut that is driving men to committing suicide?
I think the most basic suggestion would be that if anyone, male or female, starts having suicidal thoughts, they should see a professional about them as soon as possible. Don't dismiss them. Don't just think, I can't do this because it's not manly or whatever to consult a psychologist. Just go, because it's surprising how quickly a well-trained psychologist can identify the root cause of these and get rid of them for you. So it's a tragedy when people labor under I don't know what's wrong in their lives, but some terrible problem that they're facing, and they don't go and get professional help. I mean, the costs of professional help are nothing compared to the costs of a suicide. So it would be, even if you must think of it financially, think of it as money well spent.
Yeah. But how about us towards the person who's suicidal? Like, how do we, treat them? You have, like, I remember sharing with my colleagues here about a friend of mine who keeps, throwing hints about his possible suicide, action.
Yes.
So how do we behave towards these people who, they're throwing hints that they're going to commit suicide?
Well, first of all, people who throw hints, generally speaking, don't actually commit suicide. The most likely scenario is one of two extremes. You get some suicides are quite impulsive. Something terrible overwhelms that person, and the thought of suicide goes through their head, and they go ahead and carry it out. They don't tell a soul. It just happens. It can happen in less than a day. At the other extreme, you've got somebody who is really thinking hard about suicide, has made a decision to do it, does not tell a soul. But then their behavior starts to reveal what they're doing. You start to notice certain characteristic behaviors if you are skilled in this sort of thing. But the average person wouldn't notice them. The exception is the person who's talking about it. The person who's talking about it rarely does it. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So if somebody is threatening suicide or talking about suicide, the best thing to do is to say, listen, you and I go for a beer and let's you tell me all about what's going on in your life. They probably won't be at risk of suicide, but they probably have got some serious troubles. And if you just do little more than drink a few beers with them, you will make a big difference to their lives.
Alrighty, that's a gem. It's just a free gem from Dr. Hart. Remember, we were with him till 10 o'clock, and we're picking up your phone calls if you have questions and queries. 0719 012 600.
Dr. Hart, I have a question. I'll take you back to the topic. What happens when a parent, like a step-parent, who's involved in this child's life, decides to woo this child or their stepchild with love by buying them toys or looking for affection in different angles, like trying to be extra nice? Is that advisable just to get the child in check or in line? Or should they just wait for the old natural way for the child to like them or love them? Is it advisable to do those nice things for them or extras?
Well, I mean, it's nice to do nice things with the child, but it shouldn't involve lots and lots of money. It shouldn't involve lots and lots of gifts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What children really value is attention. So if you spend time with a child, just being interested in their life, helping them with their homework, listening to their stories, that's about the right things to do. If you're with somebody who is starting to shower them with gifts and all the other things, I think you've got a few questions to ask. You know, at its mildest, they may be just not very skillful in terms of what children are all about.
Yes.
At its most devious, they might actually have some quite unpleasant intentions. You know, they might be grooming the child in ways that might turn out to be quite nasty.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me take you back slightly. You said that a 35-year-old man and above who's never been married can be quite complicated. And, Dr. Hart, I find this is a personal opinion, maybe shared by a few, but I find that the more you know, all right, as a man, the harder it is to stay in a blissful land of ignorance, all right? So you become, for lack of a better word, very, very picky. And then your tolerance, because also your personality and character have concretized, you have very low tolerance, for lack of a better term again, BS. So what would, in your opinion,
this is what he was talking about.
So what would you say a man who's never been married above the age of 35, all right, needs to do? And coupled with that, what is the best age for a man to get married and a woman?
Right. The trouble is, the best age for first marriage differs between men and women.
Yes.
It used to be very predictable, very easy. You know, a man was about 2 or 3 years older than the woman. Everybody knew how old women were when they got married, and the men came chasing after them at the right age. It was very simple. But now life's got much more complicated. Men have a tendency to get married when they have just established themselves in their career, perhaps for 2 or 3 years. So they've finished their education, at least the first tranche of it. They've perhaps done 1 or 2 jobs and start feeling, hey, I get it. My life's in control. And the next thing he thinks is, I need a wife. So, and when a guy thinks I need a wife, he gets on with it. He stops dating girlfriends and he starts dating potential wives.
Wife material.
Wife material, yes, that's right. And if you think about people's education, you know, a guy, that means, who finishes his first degree and maybe a short master's and gets through college by the age of 24, he'll be 27, 28 when he takes that decision. And so typically a guy who's serious first time round is really seriously looking for a wife round about the age of 28, 29, 30, 31, and he'll marry. Now, the thing that's got difficult is that a lot of women of the same age are still very sensitive about their careers. They realize that the moment they have children, they'll drop off the promotion ladder. And so they think, if I'm not going to have children, why get married? So they start putting it off year by year. Now, the problem is that when you get to the age of 35, for the men, all the serious players, the ones who really intended to marry and marry the right women, have gone. So the starting point is that the ones who are left have got a reason why they haven't married. And it's usually about, they like the single life. They like the independence. They don't like being beholden to anybody. They like playing.
Yeah,
They like playing?
We're live with Dr. Chris Hart, who's live from the UK. I think the network inaleta shida So he'll be back most definitely. We have been live on Twitter all the way till now. And we're going to be with him all the way till 10 o'clock. So you'd better take advantage. Dr. Hart is one of those psychologists who, it's so hard to get him. And we're so lucky that we have actually got him today. Are you back, Doctor?
He was just about hitting the punchline.
Yeah,
man. Like that was the message for me.
Yeah, it was about to land.
Yeah, that was my message, Dr. Harry. Come back.
Eric needs a word.
I need a word.
Yeah,
but also, just as we were waiting for Doc to come back, he said that a lot of over 35-year-olds who are not married are because of very obvious reasons. Either they like being single, they don't want to be, submit.
Hi, Doc.
Oh, yeah. Doc, you're back. Oh, shame.
Yeah, man. Let's get him back.
Yeah, let's get him back. So, as you're trying to get him, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Do you think that was true? Because you married pretty late yourself.
I don't know. Maybe it's been a different experience over the years, though.
Yeah.
Like the time I got married.
Doc,
you're back.
Hello.
Yes, you're just at the peak of it all, and then the internet decided to go. So you're telling me that in most cases, a man who's 35 and has chosen not to get married was because of some varied reasons, which are what?
Well, he's very independent.
Mm-hmm.
He likes coming and going as he pleases. He's very commitment phobic. He just doesn't want to be tied to one person. He might be a player. He might be the sort of guy who doesn't really like women very much.
Mm-hmm.
And he just uses them, one conquest after another. And he's come to believe that that's the life for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guys like that, you don't want to marry them,
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he's a very clever soul. He thinks everybody would behave like that if they were only courageous enough. He looks down on married couples. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hate to say this, but the bulk of single men at the age of 35 plus who have never been married, never been in a long-term relationship, fit into that category. Now, there are some exceptions. You get a few guys who are not very socially skilled. They don't meet women, So if you realize that you're talking to a guy who's 36 and not very socially skilled, maybe it's worth putting some effort into him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's playing the typical guy who's becoming a permanent bachelor, like he keeps disappearing off the radar, he suddenly stops taking your calls and he's not there all weekend, and just get him out of your life as fast as possible.
Yes.
All right, Doc. We just want to say thank you for being with us. I have one more question. I don't know about Barbara.
You can take it.
You can have a blended family. Back to the topic. You can have a blended family.
Yes.
And then this couple are together. Then this blended family get their own biological children. So,
yes.
So now it's a blended family, but now they're now
that's
why it's called blended.
Complicated blended family.
Yes. So now, how would you handle that as a professional, like a breakup in
Why are
that
you thinking
regard?
of breakups?
Oh,
they
don't
happen,
even think about. Once you do that, don't even think about breaking up. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to have to stick it out.
Yeah.
But
That
it
one
does
is
get
blended
totally-
for real.
Yeah. You have one
blended
person that ties you
blended
together.
I like that expression. A blended for real family is
Yeah.
very complicated. And I hate to say this, the children will cause some trouble.
Yeah.
There will be endless accusations of you prefer him to me sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what gets very interesting is as the children get older, you see some very interesting character traits develop. Some get very manipulative. Some get to be fantastic negotiators.
Mm-hmm.
Some become very adult, because they start bossing the others all around. And you get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing to do, I think, in that situation is to stand back a little bit and just enjoy it. Because it's going to be complicated.
Stand back and enjoy the ride.
Let them have their own field day.
Barbara, you have one more question for Dr. Hart.
No, I didn't have a question.
Eric,
You already
having-
asked it.
No, totally. So, are you looking to come back, or did you completely relocate to the UK?
I've pretty much relocated. I'm afraid what drove me out in the end was Nyayo House. It just got too expensive, endless bribes just to keep your work permit going.
Oh.
And so eventually I decided to do the thing in reverse. And so the whole family relocated up to the UK. I'm still very active, though. I'm still writing. I'm still counselling people over the internet. There are people who actually come up to England to see me from Kenya. And I will come back and I will visit, but I don't think I'll come back permanently. Sadly,
terrible to
I would
hear
have loved
that.
to.
How is that?
I actually applied for citizenship and ran into a storm of issues. You just can't do it.
I'm so sorry to hear that. How is Tolo and the family?
The family's fine. The family is thoroughly enjoying themselves up here. I mean, we were very lucky. We got the kids into good schools and everything's gone very well. We even brought the cat.
Emmanuel is a cat person.
Dr. Chris, thank you so much for your time. Your deductions have been
a great pleasure.
Totally invaluable. We thank you so much for taking some time off, and thank you very much for
It's a great pleasure.
And
it was a pleasure meeting you.
For the people who want to reach out, man, they just check you out, Doctor, on your website, like for details.
Yeah, yes, do. I mean, my website. There's a website called couplescoaching.online. I've got a Facebook page, obviously. There's a Twitter feed, all the usual things. They can find me very easily. Google will find me.
Are you on Instagram, sir?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual things.
All right. We just want to say thank you so much for joining us once again. I hope you're going to be a regular feature on this show, sir.
Yes.
Well, I'd love to. It would be a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for having
much.
So, what would be your last word, Doc, in regard to people who want to do blended families, like your parting shots? Did you get that, Dr. Hart?
Sorry?
Your last word for people who want to do blended families.
Do it. Do it. It is scary. It will get complicated, but do it. If you've met the right person for you, I'm talking about the adults now.
Yes.
You will find ways of dealing with the children. It will get messy. It will get complicated. You'll get very frustrated on occasions, but do it. It is actually quite a rewarding experience.
Alrighty. What are your thoughts on Meghan Markle and the big depart from the from the royal family?
I know. I think he's been very foolish, to be frank. But there you go. Maybe he knows something I don't. I think he'll regret it. I think he probably, I think he got carried away, to be frank. He spoke out of turn. He could have withdrawn a little bit without saying a word, and we wouldn't have noticed, But to make all that fuss, I don't know.
Alrighty, have a very good rest of the day or the evening, sir. Thank you so much for coming through. All right, we were live with Dr. Chris Hart all the way from the UK, and we've had an amazing conversation. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Barbara, what are your thoughts on the conversation we've had?
First, I would like to thank Dr. Hart for joining us. And as he has said, if you're able to do it, do it. It will get complicated, but hey, what's love got to do with it? Try your best. You never know.
Yeah, man. Blended family. I grew up in one. It's fun. It's also it has its challenges.
Pros and cons.
Especially when the matriarch or the patriarch is not around.
You're talking from a child's experience?
No. I'm talking about from my experience.
That's not saying a child. You're the child.
Yes. So it's an interesting journey.
No, I think one of my takeouts was how, as a step parent, you must behave accordingly, even like a friend more than a parent.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
Yes.
I had never thought about it like that. So when
you were thinking about ratting and beating someone's child?
No, not really. That's why I keep telling you I would opt out of marrying someone with a child, because there are too many restrictions.
Yes.
Because you see, if it's my child we've gotten together, I'll just take her slippers and whoop them. But if you found me holding Howie and spanking
I'll be like,
hello! Yes, so it becomes troublesome. But I think the idea to maybe befriend your significant other's children more than trying to parent them was one of my takeouts today.
True.
I feel like you should just maybe, if you can wait until they're 18 so you can just live your life.
So... Emmanuel?
No, I'm not saying don't. That's me. That's me. Barbara.
Anyway, I'm like, really?
No, you just wait so you have a less complex life. Eric style. See, Eric, I may decide to take retirement.
Maybe I'll be 60. Who will be looking at me?
You never know, man. You can find love at 60 or any other age. On behalf of everyone right here in the studio, we just want to wish you a good night. Remember, there's going to be music all night long, and we're going to be here same time, same place for more conversation all the way tomorrow from 7 o'clock all the way to 10 o'clock. On behalf of Mumbi and Brian, our super producer, we wish you all